Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with River Brown, Andrew Velez, and Joe Dehls. And this is now episode 316. In this episode, we're going to preview and predict the NBA Eastern Conference. Then we will give a list of breakout players for the conference as well. Basketball show, NBA season's coming up. Preseason already happened. Timberwolves and Mavericks, they play. You know, the Wolves looking good right now. The Wolves looking good.
What about your Mavs, though?
It's preseason.
Besides everything.
Oh, it's preseason.
That's preseason. Jason Kidd is experimenting with lineups. You had Omex, you had Lively in there. Lively was getting bullied, but it's to be expected. He's a rookie.
So you're telling me is the Mavericks are still
pretenders?
Mid.
As long as they got Luka, they would never be mid.
Oh, really? They had Luka last year.
And they had Luka the year before. They went to conference finals.
The West.
What have you done for me lately?
The West prediction is gonna be more fun because the East is like we know the top dogs. The West though, we're gonna have more than just spoiler two teams
whack
in the
ass
top,
conference.
In the top,
not my conference. Not our conference. Our conference.
I'm everywhere, man.
Yeah, he can't fucking.
I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt for the only time ever.
I'm good, bro. I'm everywhere, man.
We thought we'd start off with the East just because one of the teams just made a blockbuster move in the Celtics and trading for Drew Holiday, and of course the Bucks traded for Dame. Now, Dehls is going to be on this show for about 30, 40 minutes.
40 minutes is generous.
He is going to get a haircut. He has an appointment at 2 o'clock. We're filming this at
It's not
1
my fault.
p.m.
First of all, we're recording this on Saturday.
He's about to be here and blame me.
I'm blaming two.
What a
I'm
schmuck.
blaming multiple people. We're supposed to
What a
record every
schmuck.
Friday.
Blaming these two, right?
Drew's like, I need to go out tonight. I was like, it's all right. I hadn't gotten to the gym. I was like, it's fine. I'll go. I'll work out. So then we're like, bet. We'll record 11 o'clock Saturday. It's 1 o'clock. My appointment's at 2. I said, let's record 11 on Saturdays. Perfect. We'll have plenty of time. I'll have time to get my hair cut. We're supposed to record at 11. I hit the chat. 10 o'clock. Yo, let's do it.
I was awake.
Joel's like, damn, man, I'm tired. Like, can we push this back to 12:30? And now we're recording at 1 o'clock.
Don't forget, he shit it. So
And then I was here at 12:15. Drew and Rib don't get here till 12:45.
We had to get him McDonald's.
And you also took 30 minutes to
your
shit.
shit was longer than my McDonald's.
I did almost shit myself.
So-
We was
bad.
here already at 12:30.
I'll keep it a stack. If this was the West, I wasn't showing up. But I had to talk about the Celtics.
We're here.
Yeah. I just needed some sleep, man. I was so tired.
And I needed a night out with my dogs.
I took a shower and I came out of the shower with my towel on.
Thought you were gonna say
Dehls
something else.
said the back door's locked. I said, shit.
Oh no, Dehls is gonna walk in on me with a towel on.
Now, first of all, he unlocks the door and doesn't open it. So I hear him fiddling with the door. I'm waiting for him to open it. And then I open it and I see him like, what the fuck, bro?
That's mad
Bro, because I unlocked it because I was hoping I would get up in time before he opens the door.
Uh-huh.
And then, right as I hit my stride and I'm on the final step, Dehls opens the door.
I'm like this,
oh,
bro.
hey,
I'm like, about to go back, about to go because I hear him fiddling with it.
I should have just been like, yo, just give me like 10 seconds. Then come in. Eastern Conference tiers list. So in previous years, we would preview these teams. Each team, we'd go down a list. But this one, we're just going to break it down into 3 tiers. The contenders, the playoff / play-in teams, and then the clear lottery teams. So, Dehls, you can kick this off with your contenders and your playoff and play-in teams and your lottery teams.
I think we all have the same contenders: Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks. Do you have? Oh, maybe there's someone else. I don't know. I'm not the big missing piece is the Heat, who just made the finals, and I get it, but they got worse, and the Bucks and Celtics got, in my opinion, much better.
I agree.
Losing Gabe Vincent, that was a big loss. Max Strus. I mean, they lost some key pieces. I know they got other guys in there, and of course, it's the Heat, so they'll probably have some undrafted guy or second-round pick from the last 3 years that goes crazy. But right now, the Heat aren't in my contenders list. Maybe they'll make me eat my words, but this was an 8 seed who barely got into the playoffs. They did their thing. To their credit, beat the Bucks, beat the Celtics, beat the Knicks. Did lose to the Nuggets, but Celtics and Bucks are really my only 2 contenders. And I think the only questions around these teams is really depth. At least for Boston, I feel so confident in that top 6. Like, they have legitimately 6 guys that I have no problem starting in the playoffs, and they still have a boatload of second-round picks, first-round picks that if they need to get a 7th man or 8th man off the bench, they'll be able to make that move. The Bucks don't have that same depth. Like, of course, you have Brook and Middleton to go along with the big 2 they got there. But outside of that, Pat Connaughton, Malik Beasley they picked up. I'm not as excited for them as I am with Like the Celtics, it's Derek White and Porzingis and Al Horford, who we know in the playoffs. I guess Porzingis maybe not as much, but those other guys, we have no problem starting. Playoff play-in teams, it's a long list. Heat, Sixers, Knicks, Cavs, Hawks, Pacers, Nets, Magic, and Bulls. I think maybe the only surprise here is possibly the Magic, but I'm sure we're all high on the Magic this year. Franz Wagner going into year 3. You got Paolo there, of course. Picked up Anthony Black. Very excited for this Magic team. And even I have a couple lottery teams here, like the Raptors and Hornets, who I still have faith they can make a play-in. It's really just the Wizards and Pistons I'm looking at. Like, I'd be shocked if they're able to make a play-in. But those two other teams, the Raptors and Hornets, just 2 seasons ago, the Hornets were right in it. And now LaMelo's going to be healthy. They're getting Bridges back. Of course, they drafted Brandon Miller 2nd overall. So the talent is there. This is a team that showed us they could be in the play-in situation. Mark Williams is another one, second half of the year last year, that really broke out into the scene. They have a real presence on the interior defensively. So those teams, it wouldn't shock me. But the only 2 lottery teams that I would be appalled by would be the Wizards and the Pistons.
Looking at the Celtics and Bucks, those are the only 2 contenders, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference. The Miami Heat are not contenders. They didn't land Dame. They didn't land even a Bradley Beal would have been a huge boost to this team. They added Josh Richardson, and they have depth. I think their depth going into the season is a bit better, but you need star power, and they don't have star power. And I think last year's run was kind of lucky. You know, I'll blatantly just say that. I think it was kind of lucky. I don't think Jimmy Butler plays at the level he played at last year, especially in that first round. And the way they shot the ball, shooting damn near 60% from 3, I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen again. It's not repeatable. The contenders, the Celtics and Bucks, right now their line is both at 54.5 wins. They're tied.
It's a great season.
I am leaning Celtics to have a better regular season. The Bucks, just they're a bit older. I don't trust their depth as much as the Celtics. And I would lean the Celtics to have a better regular season. With the playoff and play-in teams, I think there are a lot. It's really jumbled up. If I were to condense it and just give you guys like the teams that I think will make the playoffs, you have to put the Heat in there. I think the Sixers have to be in there.
Agreed.
The Sixers are the only team amongst these 4 that I think are on the line of contender and pretender, just because I think if they do get a reinvigorated James Harden, he played at a close to all-NBA level last year. They took the Celtics to 7. They can be contenders. They add Patrick Beverley to the team. They add Kelly Oubre. This team has much more depth than last year's team. But I don't know what's happening with James Harden, so I can't put them into the contender tier. The Knicks have to be a team that have to be in this playoff mix just because Jalen Brunson proved that he's one of the best point guards in the league. We still have Julius Randle. RJ should just stay steady, and I think Quentin Grimes can take a leap this year.
What are you laughing at that?
Julius Randle. Yeah,
okay,
that was the
That's
one.
an all-NBA player.
Yeah, that was just the one I couldn't hold my tongue for. Everything else was sound, for sure.
The Cavaliers, this would surprise me the most. So out of the win totals for these East teams, this is how it goes. The Celtics and Bucks are at 54.5. Then comes the Cavs at 50.5 wins. That's third. Number 4 is the Sixers at 48.5. And then the Heat and Knicks are both tied at 45.5. So Vegas is projecting the Cavaliers to have the 3rd best regular season.
Makes sense.
Which
Cavs
makes
won
some
51
sense.
games last
No,
year.
they won a lot of games last year. They added shooting to the team. The Cavaliers with me, it's just really the playoffs. I don't know the growth that we're going to get from Evan Mobley on the offensive side of the ball. I think he still has ways to go defensively just in terms of guarding more positions, becoming more like a Bam Adebayo on defense. I don't think he's as good as Bam Adebayo. So when I look at these teams, it's really the playoff locks to me are Celtics, Bucks, Heat, Sixers, Knicks, Cavaliers. But I really love the Pacers. I do. I think the Pacers are the best value bet here. They're at 38.5 win total. They're below the Hawks. They're just a win over the Magic and the Nets and the Bulls. As long as Tyrese Halliburton is healthy, I think Benedict Mathurin gets better. They added Bruce Brown. I think the Pacers here are the team that's going to surprise everybody in the Eastern Conference, and I think they will get a top 6 seed. I don't know whose spot they take out, but I'm very confident in the Pacers coming into the season. And the clear lottery teams to me, the Hornets, Pistons, and Wizards. The Hornets have talent. They added Miles Bridges back to the team. He's a player that he's going to give you 20 and 8. LaMelo Ball, if he's healthy, is going for 24 and 10. I like Brandon Miller. I still think he's a good player despite the summer league struggles. They have a solid team, and Steve Clifford makes their guys play defense. But I'm just not sold on the Hornets like that. I just think they're an immature team. Even with Steve Clifford being there.
Immature team, back-to-back play-ins.
This past year, they weren't
Of course
playing
not.
without
You know
LaMelo.
what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
With LaMelo's
banged up
rookie
a lot
season
last year.
and LaMelo's sophomore season, with a very young, immature team, back-to-back play-ins. They look terrible in that play-in, but they did make it.
I can see it. It's just with me, I don't think the Hornets are a better team than the Bulls. I don't think they're a better team than the Raptors. The Raptors in there, it's even, but there's just a lot of teams in the East that are just mediocre. Like they're nothing special,
agree.
but they just have good all-around rosters. Like even a team like the Nets in the West would be a lottery team. I wouldn't even think twice about them, but in the East, they can make the play-in.
Yeah.
Like they have good players. So for me, the Magic I also have in the play-in just because I think we're going to get leaps from Paolo and Franz Wagner. The only clear lottery teams are the Hornets, Pistons, Wizards, and then the playoff and play-in teams. I have about 10 of these teams in the playoff and play-in mix.
I'll go through my list. Actually, Riv, I feel like I'm surprised that you're going to talk last. Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I have a question.
Okay.
Because you guys talk first, so I have a question.
Why didn't you like my seat, by the way?
Huh?
Why didn't you like my seat?
It just doesn't feel right for me.
You also have the most expensive chair in the room.
Do I really?
You do.
Yours goes back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it's
I
amazing.
need that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. Your seat just don't got no cushion. You know what I'm saying? It ain't real.
Your
It ain't
chair,
real.
your chair's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Thank
You're
you.
a little bony.
I am a little bit.
I got some ass.
You do got a little bit of poke to you. Question for both of you guys. Do you guys think Porzingis makes that much of a difference to where the gap between the Celtics and Miami dramatically shift, or you just think Miami really got that much worse? Because they're pretty much
Drew too.
Yeah, well, yeah, they did just get Drew. But do you because I think Miami, like you mentioned, they got better in the depth department, but they still didn't bring in that true scoring star that they needed. But I don't know if it's still will we really be surprised by the end of the year if Miami knocks off another top team in the playoffs by the way these last 3 or 4 years have been? They haven't had star power in the bubble outside of the finals. They went to the finals. They had star. Jimmy played great when they went to the ECF. They played you guys the first time. You know, they lost to the Bucks. And then last year, Jimmy went on a nuclear run. But I don't know if we can continue to keep counting out Miami just because they don't have the talent. Because at any moment we've seen in the East, they can knock off a team, go on a hot stretch, and beat another top contender. So I guess my question is Drew and Porzingis make that much of a gap to where you think Boston should just comfortably clear them?
They make that big of a gap in difference to me. The Heat, they have been underdogs and they have been overachievers, but I also seen them get swept in the first round.
Mm.
And I seen if Jimmy Butler struggles, they don't have nothing going for them offensively. And I think last year, having Tyler Hero out, I think helped their offense. There was more ball movement within the offense. And Tyler Hero, at this point, I think is kind of like an addition by subtraction player when you talk about the Heat. I'm not that high on him. The defensive woes are very apparent with him, and he's somebody that's going to take control of the ball and take away control from Jimmy Butler at times. I just don't believe in the Heat. Like, to answer your question, I wouldn't be surprised if they knock off a team just because of their track record, but I don't also want to go by track record and just say this is why it will happen again, because I think that there are teams that are just clearly more talented than them, and they just should beat them in a series if they were to match up.
Are they in your contenders?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if we're having the conversation of contenders to make it out of the East, then you have to include the Miami Heat, essentially for the only reason of last season, where nobody expected them to make the run that they did, but they knocked off the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed. That's impressive. Whether we want to sit here and discredit the roster that is the Miami Heat because we look at other teams like the Celtics, like Milwaukee, I'll even throw in the Sixers in this conversation. We might like the talent more, but end of the day, coaching matters in the league, and they have the best coach in the association in Eric Spoelstra. Jimmy Butler has proven time and time again in the playoffs that he can be he is a playoff riser and continues to be one of the better playoff performers that we have in the game right now. Bam Adebayo, who I've been critical of, defensively, never been critical of, but offensively, that's where I've had my issues. Last season, being the initiator, honestly, a lot of the time the offense ran through him in terms of him facilitating the offense and really getting things going. He continues to improve year to year as well. You look at the rest of the roster, Gabe Vincent does get subtracted from this team, but Josh Richardson, not a huge fan of that move. Thomas Bryant, I do like that move, not because Thomas Bryant, the player, where he kind of, slapped the Lakers in the face just for him to go to the Nuggets and get no playtime. I like this move because I've been telling you guys they need a big. They need a backup big so Bam does not have to play the 5. He can play that 4 hybrid 5. And when you're asking him to defend on the perimeter, you still have that safety net in the back of near the paint, in the paint near the basket. And I know that Thomas Bryant isn't this great defender, not even a little bit, but you needed another big on this roster. That's a solid addition. Jaime, I don't know how many minutes he's going to get, but of course they did have that first-round draft pick. You have to respect them in that regard of being contenders. If we're talking about championships, then I feel differently where I just don't see the Heat being good enough to knock off a team like the Nuggets, knock off a team like the Lakers, knock off a team like the Suns.
But
you have to respect Spo.
But if
and
they
company.
can knock off the Bucks or the Celtics, why can't
They knocked them off. They knocked them off last year, right? They knocked them off last year. Missoula first year. Maybe we'll talk about it, but the podcast with JJ Redick did not do him any favors in his rookie campaign, where he didn't have plays drawn up for the last couple of minutes of the game, holding his timeouts, and essentially he had a good idea but failed to execute the idea properly. The Celtics just did not look like the same basketball team that they did the year prior. Milwaukee, they were injured, and even still when Giannis came back, Jimmy was just on another planet, and Miami was playing excellent basketball. So last year they did what people think that they couldn't do, but going into this season, understanding that you missed out on a Damian Lillard, you missed out on a Drew Holiday, that definitely sucks, but Jimmy and Bam, with Spo, of course, proved that they can still go to the finals, and they've done it 2 times already in their tenure together.
I think you can, like, with Miami and Boston, they just know each other so well. They're very familiar with each other. And Spo, he's the best coach in basketball. He just, they play each other not only 4 times in the regular season, but they played each other multiple playoff runs. They pretty much have played the same guys every time they go about it. So it's a familiarity thing. In terms of when they go in the West, it's a different style. They just don't match up with a guy like the Joker or with multiple guards like Phoenix that has the ball, that can move the ball, that can score isolation. With Boston, they just know their tendencies, know them so much. It's a different outcome as opposed to, like, if they play a West team. So I understand what Drew is saying. Like, if Miami plays the Bucks or they plays Boston, they know them so well. They know Giannis's tendencies. They know Tatum's tendency. They know Jaylen Brown's tendency, Chris Middleton, and so forth. The difference is now the Bucks bring in Dame. So that's like the heightened difference. Boston has brought in Drew, and they brought in Porzingis, but once again, they know Drew's tendencies also. So it's like Miami, they didn't bring in a star, and I think that's a failure. They did have an L offseason because they didn't bring in a star, and that's what they needed to improve this roster into that upper echelon. We even said if they brought in just Drew Holiday, this is a team that can literally come out the East. But I think I keep them in my contenders tier with the Bucks. I think the contenders, the Bucks and the Boston are the top of the contenders, but I think you have to keep Miami in there. And I think you even have to add Philly in there just because with Miami, they can still be that unsung hero of the playoffs. They can still knock off a team. Like the Bucks and the Boston could play each other. They can still beat one. They could still go on a hot streak and beat one of those teams. We can't count them out. They did lose to the Bucks in that first round, but 3 out of the 4 years they've been to an Eastern Conference Finals, and they've never had this growth of talent on their roster. So I think I keep them in there with Philly. Philly is just they always have a good off. They had a good off season. They didn't really lose much. Once again, if Harden's locked in, I'm sure this team is a team that can be a contender.
He was at camp. That's a great sign.
He definitely showed up to camp. They said he didn't look out of shape, but with this team, it's always they're a contender in the off season. Then the season starts, then the playoffs start, and they're back to where they're gonna be. But for right now, you got to put them in the contenders tier because they did improve their roster.
Joel, don't do this.
They haven't gone to the second round.
They were a game away from beating you guys.
They did
We're
lose.
saved by a 3-minute masterclass from Jason Tatum.
We were a game away from
Do you
beating
think
the
this
Heat.
roster is a contending team?
The Sixers?
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
No.
On paper, no.
On
Harden,
paper, they
Maxey,
most
and Embiid?
definitely are. That's great. Don't say that like it's not amazing.
I'm looking at the Bucks and Celtics. I'm saying that they're clearing them.
Embiid's an MVP. Harden just played at an All-NBA
not
level.
wrong.
Tyrese Maxey, if he takes another leap where he was excellent
They brought
in
in
the
Pat
playoffs
Bev.
for
They
Maxey.
got
Bias
Paul
and
Reed back. They got Kelly
Off
Oubre.
the bench, it's
Listen,
Paul
yo-
Reed,
yo-
Oubre, Bev,
The only
DeAnthony Melton.
The
a good
only
team.
concern becomes,
Harder.
of course, Harden,
And Embiid.
but big depth. They don't have any big after.
Paul Reed is good, man.
I like Paul Reed.
6'9", undersized. Paul
Still,
Reed's not bad.
That's
of course.
Bam
Damn, it's
Adebayo's height.
6'8".
But that's different. Bam Adebayo is
Bam
just,
101.
he's a
He 101
unicorn.
though.
I know, but I'm just saying, Paul Reed he's a good backup center.
They don't have
He's good
anybody.
And like they brought in Mo Bamba, but you can't count on Mo Bamba
He's not
at
gonna
all.
play.
No. Well, he might because they do need help at big. But if Paul Reed's the answer, then Paul Reed's the answer. But you have to respect the Sixers. I understand it, right? You've owned them. The
maybe
Boston
I'm just
Celtics
biased,
have
like,
owned
they've
the
never-
Ain't nothing wrong
Philadelphia
with it.
76ers.
Ain't nothing wrong
for
with it.
sure.
I'll be honest.
For sure.
Philly has
It's like Philly
literally.
they didn't get worse. I mean, they got marginally better. Bringing in Pat Bev, obviously moving on from Doc Rivers. Like, if you want to go that route, that
There you
maybe
go.
is something I could get behind. But the roster itself, it's like around the edges. Yeah, they've gotten marginally better, but they didn't go out and make this big move that are gonna like. The biggest issue is in the playoffs. Is James Harden going to show up more than 2 games? Is Joel Embiid going to show up any games? Like they haven't showed that.
But I
yet.
think those are like Philly's problems are more internal than actual roster. I don't
disagree.
I don't think they never needed a big move. I think they needed a couple moves here and there, and their 2 stars to just show
I
up.
mean, they did make a big move. Nick Nurse is a big move.
Oh, I mean, like from a roster.
I understand
perspective.
what you're saying,
for
but Nick Nurse is a huge
100%.
move.
I mean,
but
Nick Nurse moved me more than Pat Bev.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I'm
sure,
with
the
you
coaching,
100%.
yeah. But I think like they never needed a big time move to really uplift this roster. It's just, is their number 2 star going to be a number 2, and is their number 1 guy going to not have
Is
a
it-
drop off?
But I mean, what other contender are we really saying that? Like, what other contender in the NBA are we saying is the number 1 going to show up?
We're definitely asking if number 2 is going to show up with the Celtics and Jaylen Brown.
Stop that. He's literally only hasn't shown up one playoff
He still
series.
can't dribble with his
What
left
about-
hand.
Okay, but that one playoff series.
Have
is
you
only
seen the
time
clip
that-
on
He was
social
a-
media
he
just
was
now?
a
Can you stop?
Have you seen the
Stop,
clip?
Joel.
You
I don't
know
want
I
to hear
seen
this.
it.
What do you think about that clip?
That clip is fucking
Can
hilarious.
you guys stop
He's an
overanalyzing a
All-NBA player,
fucking
bro.
gym,
I
just
don't-
him
I really don't
dribbling
give
with
a
his
shit.
right and
I'm
left?
gonna overanalyze it when in the playoffs. I seen him dribble with his left
that's
and lose the
actually
ball
correct.
each
That
time.
shit
And
did
what
not
happened in the
move
previous
me.
year? Went
He's
to the
working on
finals.
it.
He was
He's working
arguably
on
better
it.
than
That's
Tatum.
it. At least he's doing right.
In the
He's at
finals,
least-
he was
In
not
the
on
finals.
the way to the finals. Tatum was better
On the
than
way,
him.
they were kind of neck and neck.
No, they were not.
The
Stop
thing
it.
with Jaylen Brown and what I've always given him praise for is that he's always been a model of consistency. One playoff series against the Miami Heat where it's inexcusable. He did not play well. But one playoff series
He didn't play
is
well in
going
the
to
finals either.
No, he played well in the finals. He actually played better than Tatum.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Tatum.
No,
I'm so sorry.
not talking about
Yeah,
Tatum
my
at all.
fault. My
No,
bad.
Jaylen Brown has been a model. Jason Tatum has not been
Yeah,
consistent.
I'm
That's
sorry.
been
I
his
thought
one
you were
knock.
talking about Tatum.
But Jaylen Brown has one playoff series, and we're automatically going to look to him being the concern. Like if you're doing it for jokes because he can't dribble with his left hand, all right, I'm here
No, he
to
actually
ha
can't
ha
dribble
and,
with
if,
and
if
clown
it's against
around.
the Heat, I'm definitely concerned about Jaylen Brown.
Why?
Because did you see how the game
how
plan
about
for
2
him?
years ago when Jaylen Brown was honestly in contention for the Larry Bird Trophy? That's
They
how good
forced
he
him
played.
to go left.
That
Yeah,
even that
this year-
series though, they would force him to go left.
And he still played well though.
He had hella turnovers.
Where we
Jay-
were having
did play well.
conversations of is he the
He did play
is
well.
Jason Tatum the real Larry Bird MVP?
The thing about Jaylen Brown is I feel like the finals performance that he had kind of inflates what people perceive him to be.
Who?
When after
Jaylen, you're
game
saying?
when after
talking about
game
Jaylen.
after game 3 when Draymond Green took the responsibility of guarding Jaylen Brown did not play well. Jaylen Brown splits after game 3 were not very good. And Draymond has mentioned it on his podcast before. Yeah, I just make him go left. I make him go left. That's how I want him to beat me.
Jaylen Brown, the Heat in 2022, put up 24-7 and 2.5, 43% from the 3-point line. He struggled from he struggled from the free throw line, shot 70%, but he's putting up 24-7 and shot 43% from 3. That was 2 years ago. Listen, last year, I understand, but I'm not going to take one playoff series. I'm not going to take a 7-game sample and throw away the other 50 games of him in the playoffs playing at a very high level. He was an All-NBA second team.
What's the issue with that? Y'all do it all the time for other players if they got a bad stinker playoff series. We talk with Kevin Durant, he got one playoff series, and he averaged 29 on good
Oh,
efficiency,
Lord.
and we talking about do we
We are-
trust KD to show up?
We're talking about the East.
This Jaylen Brown.
Who did that?
I'm not saying nothing about KD.
Do we trust
I don't say anything
KD?
about KD.
Wait, do we trust KD? I don't know. Yeah, we do.
You should trust KD, but what is the statement that everyone's making on KD?
After the Celtics series, when they got eliminated in the first round,
Where
everybody
he's the worst that he ever looked.
yeah,
Got it.
everybody started doubting KD going into the
Because
playoffs.
they didn't win a game. That's what it was.
But still, like,
You should have won
just
one.
if a player does not show up in the playoffs, when has that stopped anybody from saying that going forward from that bad moment, they are not all the way confident that they'll show up
Because
again?
Kevin Durant has a laundry list of big moments.
No, I'm saying everybody should have trusted KD. I mean, I trust KD. Even though versus the Nuggets, he wasn't that
Like
efficient.
I'm saying,
He still averaged 29.
if we're here for ha-has and clowning around, we're talking about Jaylen Brown's dribbling. I essentially equate that to the same thing with Kevin Durant. If he's going to struggle, that's basically what people are doing, trying to capitalize on that moment of Kevin Durant's downfall.
With Jaylen Brown, I really don't trust him against the Heat. Like, after the
2
Eastern
years
Conference
ago,
Finals, I don't
He
trust
was
him.
amazing against
But
them.
when they forced him to really go left and he had to do things, when Jason Tatum rolled his ankle in Game 7 and Jaylen Brown got the
Okay, Jaylen Brown's not a
responsibility,
one.
he did not play well.
Jaylen Brown's not a 1.
He always wants to be a one.
But
though.
No.
Listen, what Jaylen Brown wants, and he's a
He
great
just made
player,
All
he's
NBA. I hope that he could be a one.
He's not.
At
Is
least
Julius
in
Randle a 1? He's an All NBA
he's not
player.
even
Julius
a
Randle's
two.
not as good as Jaylen Brown.
He's not, but they're both made All NBA.
But Julius Randle.
He's
come
not
on.
even a 2, buddy.
Julius Randle should have never
Julius
made
Randle
All NBA
stinks.
over Jalen Brunson. He should have.
I'm not sitting here just, but the
Well, you
positions.
can't. That's
it's
position.
different.
Yeah, you can't really.
Now it's position, but Julius Randle to me was not an All NBA player last year. I don't care about the award that
You
he
tell
won.
me all 15 players on the All NBA teams are number ones? There's not 15 ones in the league.
There are more ones than not ones
I
that
agree.
make the All NBA team.
Jaylen Brown is not a 1.
Jaylen Brown just finished averaging 27 in the regular season. I would hope that in a game he at least would step up.
He's a great scorer,
in a
but
bigger
we
moment.
know he's not a great playmaker. We know
He wasn't a great scorer in that game in Game 7.
no, he wasn't.
He was bad
He
all
wasn't.
around.
He had a bad series. I agree with you.
When Jason Tatum stepped down, Jaylen Brown was supposed to step up. He got
Yeah, that
outplayed by
Miami-
Caleb Martin.
This
I don't
Miami
disagree.
series was bad.
It
It
was
was
terrible.
bad. It was bad.
Like that
was
is
arguing
an
too.
all-time bad moment. And I'm not saying that Jaylen Brown is this bad player,
He
but
shot
against the Heat
16%.
specifically, I'm not trusting.
He killed in the Atlanta series. He killed in the Sixers series. He was clearly not the same in Miami.
So yeah, our second best player had his worst playoff performance since he's become this player, and we still went to 7 games with the Heat and lost. And who knows what happens if Tatum doesn't roll his ankle?
Correct.
Maybe we win that game. So Jaylen Brown at his absolute lowest, we go to 7 with Miami.
To be fair though,
At his absolute name the stats. You go to 7 because Derek White played out of his mind.
he had a game where that shit lost
No,
my
because
mind.
Jason Tatum also went otherworldly.
Yes,
in
it's
it.
not. Y'all ain't go
But
7 because
also,
of Jaylen
Bam,
Brown.
and Bam Adebayo
And
did
Caleb
not play
Martin
that great from
fucking
40.
didn't miss.
That's true also.
He outplayed Jaylen Brown.
we are talking about Boston versus Miami though, so it's like
But this all originally stemmed from Dehls asked which team in the East are you not trusting their second option?
No, I said they're
this
number,
is about
I said
the
they're
Sixers.
1. I said they're 1.
You said their second
I said
option.
I said they're 1.
said,
We can
how
run
many
it back.
ones are there?
I said no. My
some-
original said because Riv says, you got to know, is Embiid going to show up? Because I didn't say number 2 because you would have got
No,
me
you
there.
said number 2
No, I
because of
said
James
1.
Harden,
No, I
and
said
you
1.
didn't trust him.
Nope, I said 1.
The
Yeah,
whole
'cause he doesn't trust
conversation was
Embiid.
ones.
I said, yeah, exactly.
he
Because
doesn't
I'm like,
trust
I know Giannis going to show up. I know Tatum might have a couple all games, but majority of the time, he's going to show up. Embiid's not the same thing. Majority of the time, he hasn't shown up in the playoffs.
Joel Embiid, I think, if he's healthy, can show up in the playoffs.
I agree
I'm
with that.
confident in that, and I think Joel Embiid. That's why I didn't put the Sixers in my contenders list because there are a lot of unknowns with him. What Dehls said about like around the edges roster moves that the Sixers made, they made marginal ones, but I don't think the Sixers are a team that needed to make a splash move
Yeah.
because you have your stars. You just need them to show up. That's it. You need Joel Embiid to show up for the playoffs. You need James Harden to be consistent for an entire playoff run. Tyrese Maxey last year was their most consistent
he ate
player,
against us.
and I think he's an all-star caliber player. The Sixers got 3 all-stars, but the questions around them are, will they show up? But if you believe in Nick Nurse that much, then you should count on the Sixers showing up because Nick Nurse went to Toronto, and first year there, they won a championship, and they had a lot of depth. I look at the Sixers team. They got a star. They got a second star. You could even say they got a third star in Maxey, and they got a lot of depth. Off the bench, Patrick Beverley and DeAnthony Melton. Those are 2 high-powered defensive guards that I think can make other teams have trouble in the East when they guard them. PG Tucker is also a great defender. The Sixers, to me, have the roster to compete. It's just like Riff said, the internal stuff about them, just their makeup. Will they show up? Their attitude towards these big moments. With James Harden, I think to this point, you can already say that we've given up the hope that James Harden will show up in the playoffs. But Joel Embiid, because the injuries have really brought him down in the playoffs. I still have hope that Embiid can if he's healthy.
I have difficulty with the James Harden not being able to show up for the fact of 2 games against the Celtics, he backpacked and was the main reason why they were able to win those games. So we know when James Harden's at his best, he's still capable of beating the top teams in the league. It's just a matter of consistency with James Harden, and that's why it makes me upset. But just go. You're out here?
Yeah, so I don't want to.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
You have to move.
I know.
Yes.
Obviously.
Bye, Dehls.
Peace out, Dehls.
Hurry up, man. We're in a show and shit.
Everybody say bye to Dehls.
Bye, Dehls. Bro put on his Tatum shirt.
I had to.
No ring. Drew was just shaking his ass in front of Dehls. I seen you. Lock back in, fellas. James Harden, inconsistent.
You made a fair point about James Harden showing up, and I argued that on one of these last episodes that James Harden showed up in those 2 games. They just needed Embiid to show up, but those moments that James Harden doesn't show up are they happen too often.
And they're like terrible games, not just like mid-tier games, which is something you can live with, especially if your number 2 is not at 100. Joel Embiid should be able to shoulder that responsibility, but he was playing so horrendously bad that it was pretty difficult for them to overcome. Not closing out that series against the Celtics could hurt them in the long run, especially if Harden's not going to be with the team. But they showed, at the minimum, they are a game away from beating the top team in the East. And now that Dame's on Milwaukee, now conversations shift. But I feel pretty firmly Celtics got better with Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. They go from Malcolm Brogdon, 6th man of the year, you do have to respect that. But Malcolm Brogdon, who has been pretty injury-prone, is nowhere near the defense of Jrue Holiday. You go from Malcolm to Jrue. And then you go from Rob Will, who is a solid defender, injury-prone, similar to Kristaps Porzingis, but you're going from Rob Will to Kristaps Porzingis. In my opinion, at both positions, they got better.
I agree. I just think their best 6 versus Miami's best 6, it's a gap talent-wise. But
You go with Celtics.
Yeah, Celtics. But
They
in
got
terms
4
of
All-Stars.
But in terms of IQ, the coaching, like their makeup, I don't know if I can comfortably say they'll just outright destroy Miami. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
I think it's still like Jrue Holiday is an upgrade, but he still has his deficiencies. Same thing with Porzingis. So it's like Miami getting a star would have been great, And like you mentioned, Tyler Herro at this point, he's an addition by subtraction. You don't know what type of Tyler Herro you're going to get offensively. He can be a good scorer, but defensively. But they've shown that they can mask some defensive deficiencies with a couple guys because Bam is just that great. Jimmy Butler as a help side defender is that great. Spo is just that great at understanding matchups and schematics and all that good stuff. So if you have that, it's just tough for me to keep them out of there. I do think they can beat any team in the playoff play-in thing. Mm-hmm. I think they match up well with Boston. I don't want to say they don't match up with the Bucks because I think
You're saying Miami.
Yeah, getting Dame is a big boost, and they still like putting Jimmy on Dame is kind of keeping them off that help side defense. But I still have them in my contenders. That's my 4 contenders. I'll go Bucks, Boston, Miami, and then Philly. I think those are my 4.
Do you want to run through your playoff playing teams while you're at it too?
Yeah, I got I got how many got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got a good amount. So I got Cavs, Knicks. I think those are the comfortable best teams in the playoff play-in tier. I think Cavs, like you mentioned it, I think in the regular season they can win more games than any of those 4 teams in the contender list. I think they can win a good amount of games. Their makeup is built for the regular season to win hella games. It's just in the playoffs, will they figure out that 3 spot? Will they figure out that defense? Will Mobley and Allen be able to be more aggressive on the defensive end, down low? Will they be able to fix the spacing? They did bring in Max. They did bring in Niang. But how many minutes are they going to get in the playoff series is big. And then that 3 spot is still crazy. The Knicks, they didn't make too many moves. They didn't have many moves to make in the offseason. No, not like star moves.
Of course,
they brought in pretty much the same roster. Dante's a good addition. They have a lot of guards, though. I think the Knicks, another team that could shake shit up in the East, win a first-round matchup that they shouldn't win. So I got them at the top of the playoff play-in. Bulls, for me, like another team. They're bringing in the same guys for the most part, got marginally better in their offseason. I do think this team could maybe sneak in a 6-7 seed, but I think they're one of the best teams in the play-in. You hating?
The issue is, I fuck with the Bulls. I really do. I love LaVine. I love Lonzo. I love Caruso. This team isn't it. It does not have direction.
Did I say they were nice?
You said they could be a 6-7. I think that's strong.
I meant 7-8. I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Mickey Mouse.
I'm so sorry.
Bless you.
Are they not a playing team? They were a playing team last year.
They were a playing team last year. Just squeaked by at 9.
They beat Toronto.
They had a lead against the Heat.
Choked against Miami.
They choked it pretty badly. And Zach LaVine masterclass against Toronto.
Star players get paid.
He's
today.
him. He's
I
him.
mean, I don't understand this, Drew, because if you are so high on Zach LaVine, which you are,
I love him.
you should think that they're around where Riv thinks they are.
I think that they are. He's 7-8. If he's going to say 7-8 and adjust his line,
6, 7, 7, 8. What's the
6.
difference?
6 is you're locked. Let's not get into this.
I didn't say they were locked.
No, but 6 means you're locked.
Okay, let me rephrase. Bucks, Boston, Philly, Miami, Cavs, Knicks are locked.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help?
Okay, I'm fine with that.
If you're gonna go crazy.
Now we
over
haven't
one
even
jump.
mentioned Atlanta.
Atlanta's not a lock. They got into a
I
play-in
only
spot.
say this because Atlanta was one of the top offenses last season.
For sure.
Quinn Snyder came in, changed the aura in the building for sure. Defensively, they probably need to lock in on that side. AJ Griffin, in his second year, he's looking to get more minutes. At least he should, in my opinion, very efficient in his limited opportunity last season. Onyeka did not get as much playing time as he should have because of Clint Capella.
He's still there.
But I understand that. But both of them still, that is great depth at the big position. Trae Young continues to be one of the better offensive engines in basketball. DeJounte Murray, another year together. Hopefully they can have some consistency there. DeAndre Hunter, hopefully he can stay healthy. Sadiq Bey, no longer John Collins in the building. Sadiq most likely will play the 4. This is a solid unit.
They're
And
average.
last
This
season,
is nuts.
Yeah, this is like the Bulls, honestly.
But they
Literally.
I disagree with that because last season they gave the Celtics a very good series. And really, we all counted Atlanta out coming into that series. We thought that the Celtics would easily breeze by them. They made it very difficult on them. And that's even still with Jaylen Brown giving them one of the most efficient series, probably the most efficient series that he had all playoffs last year. This team's no slouch. And I think that we overlooked them because of their playoff run and their playoff history. But this still is a talented bunch. I have them pretty cleanly and pretty comfortably over the Bulls.
You're saying this? Both teams were in the play-in, by the way.
The Hawks, they had a great series against the Celtics. Do we not take away points in that series, given the fact that the Celtics let the Sixers take them to 7 with Embiid missing games? They went down 0-3 to the Heat. I don't think the Celtics were a great playoff team.
Atlanta was the first to initiate the Celtics being on fraud watch.
The Celtics coasted on talent the entire playoffs.
Agreed.
They didn't have any sound, great game plan. And I think
Trae
against
Young
Trae Young, you need that.
otherworldly against the
was.
Celtics.
My only pushback is the Bulls were a bottom team in three-point shooting, 3-point attempts. You bring in Torrey Craig, you bring Javon Carter, good additions for the 3-point shot. They were an elite defense after January. Like they made marginal. Like they're not. I'm not saying these moves is gonna put them in the 4th, 5th seed. No, but I don't think there's a gap between Chicago, Atlanta, even Indiana. Like I don't think there's this insane gap with either 3 teams. I think these teams are around the same ballpark, like mid teams that could be good on any given night. Could cause some headaches in the play-in. But I think
You still need an initiator.
Yeah, for sure. They have a point guard issue, but Atlanta. The problem with Atlanta is Clint Capella's cool, but he's not the rim protector he used to be. And on top of that, a lot of their wings, DeAndre Hunter's banged up, and they don't have a real great defense.
Still a solid rim
Onyeka's
protector.
good. He can hit the mid range. Good defender. They don't have a real legit defense. So I think
agree.
offensively they can put up points, but defensively they're an issue. But let me finish my list.
Go ahead.
So I got Bulls, Hawks, Pacers. I do think Charlotte can be a play-in team, so I had them in here. I do think Orlando, this is the year they can be a play-in team. And if Toronto doesn't blow it up, I still think they'll be a play-in team. I still think they'll have the makeup of a play-in team. They'll, try hard all year. If they don't blow it up, which I do think they should blow it up, they'll probably be a lottery team. But those are my playoff play-in teams.
There's a lot of teams that should blow it up in the East.
100%.
I don't disagree.
Look at the Eastern Conference. You went down your list, correct?
I didn't. I actually haven't gone over anything.
All right, cool.
I just got involved in the conversation. So my contenders: Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, Heat. We already went over that. Playoff and play-in teams. I do have the Knicks. I have the Cavs. I have Atlanta, Indiana, the Magic, the Hornets, the Bulls. And honestly, I'm in between on the Raptors. just because I just don't love the direction of this squad. But I am paying them that respect. Did go 500 last season, so I have them as my last team in this playoff play-in tier. I don't have the Nets. I don't think the Nets are. I don't think so either. I like some of the players on their team, of course. Mikal Bridges really ascended with his time in Brooklyn. I'm a big Cam Johnson fan. The rest of this team, whether you believe...
He didn't mention Claxton.
I didn't even cook yet. You have, of course, Claxton, who was one of the breakout defensive stars last season, who really did not get talked about as much as he should have post KD Kyrie trade. This guy, man,
he mentioned Mikal and Cam Johnson.
Because
did it sound like he was going to mention Claxton?
I'm a Cam Johnson guy. You guys slept on, which I was going to get to Ben Simmons.
I didn't think you was going to mention Claxton.
Respect me, for the love of God. I'm in the middle of cooking a meal. You don't stop a chef.
The meal was taking too long.
You better mention
some of the best meal. Really? Come on, man.
Jersey.
Derek, I don't think is this year though.
Jersey, respect.
No, of course, legend. Clowney. And Clowney as well, who they drafted with their back-to-back. Both of them might be in the G League. Yeah. Derek, maybe for the fact that maybe they need some help guard play wise, but. So yeah, Ben Simmons, whether you're in or out, apparently this is the most healthy that he's been.
Are you in?
I feel like at this point I have to be. We're here until the wheels fall off.
Simmons.
But that just goes to show you just the makeup of this team. You just don't know what it's going to be right now. Jacques Vaughn, I still think that he's a solid head coach. He's going to bring out a lot in these guys, but I just think the talent is underwhelming. This isn't their year, and honestly, I think they need to put themselves in better position to succeed in the future. And even still, where Mikal can be as great as he wants to be post-trade deadline, this team was not a 500 unit. So
they were a bottom 6 offense.
They're not a good offense at all. Spencer Dinwiddie's going to probably be leading the offense there.
Oh, God. I need Cam Thomas.
Not great. Cam Thomas is another one. I don't think he contributes to winning basketball. I think he's a talented guy. He can score a lot of points for sure.
Washington.
He's nice.
He's a bucket getter, but again, it's not leading. And the 2 games that he scored 40 points, they did not win.
It was close games, though.
It was close games, but
How many assists did he have?
They were exciting, too.
I think he had no assists, actually, if you could let me know.
I'll look it up.
But it's just a weird collection of talent that is not overwhelming and not a unit where I believe in the Magic more. The Hornets, who showed back-to-back seasons outside of this past one, in LaMelo's rookie season in his sophomore year with young talent, like I already mentioned, they can be the 10th spot in the play-in. You get Miles Bridges back. You have Mark Williams, who now is coming into his sophomore year, was excellent as a rookie defensively. That he was one of the main reasons why towards the end of the season they were one of the better defensive units. Coming into this year, it is dependent on LaMelo's health, where he struggled with that so far into his young career. If he's on the court, this is a play-in team in my opinion. But the Magic, who we haven't gone too in depth on, Jett Howard adds to their three-point shooting need. You bring in Joe Ingles, adds to their three-point shooting need. It's also dependent on what are we going to get from Jalen Suggs at this point going into, what is it now, year 3?
Eric Bledsoe.
He's been pretty disappointing.
He shot 36% towards the end of the year.
He did. No, he really did shine towards the end of the year.
He's been in practice with the starters.
Deservedly so. I mean, I think that I think with how young the roster is, and he is at this point, what is he?
Year 3.
Same as Wagner, correct? The longest tenured Magic. Yeah, they both got drafted in the same draft. The longest tenured Magic right now. Is it Markelle?
No.
Because Wendell and I think Wendell and Markelle, or Wendell was in the same.
Jonathan Isaac looks
like it.
Might be Jonathan Isaac.
I don't know if Jonathan Isaac is going to get that much burn.
He probably should.
He probably should, because there's a need for depth at the big position for them. But I think the ceiling for the Magic is a play-in team. I don't see, but a play-in, but like that 8, 9, 10. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this is their year yet. I believe in the breakout of Franz. I believe Paolo is going to be one of the better young players in this league for years to come. He's going to be one of the better players, period, in this league to come. Obviously, having a historic rookie season, did cool off down the stretch. But this is a talented group of guys that I think are just a year or 2 away from really being a solid team in the East.
So Cam Thomas had a 3-game stretch where he had 44 points, 47 points, and 43 points. His assists in those games were 5 assists, 4 assists, and 5 assists.
Not terrible.
They won 1 against Washington. They lost against the Clippers. by 8, and they lost against the Suns by 4.
Two good teams, but did Kawhi play in those?
I think Kawhi did.
I'm pretty sure.
Right,
He did.
impressive
watching that
performance.
And against Phoenix, it was against Mikal, and Mikal was guarding him that game and was like, yeah, he's like really nice. Mikal said that when he was facing Cam Thomas and Cam Thomas had the 40 ball, that he thought that he was just getting lucky with his shots because, Cam Thomas takes wild shots. Then when Mikal got to Brooklyn, he was like, oh no, like he actually practices these shots and he can hit them consistently. I think Cam Thomas is a good player. He just hasn't been able to find a fit on the Nets, but I think he's one of the younger players on the roster. You might as well give him a shot.
You think he's Tyler Hero like?
I can see it. Not the playmaking Tyler Hero or the ball handling abilities, but the tough shot making. I mean, at some point you have to try to add juice to the offense. And Cam Thomas, I don't think if you score 40 points in 3 straight games, that's a fluke. I think you can definitely be a prime scorer.
He's a bucket getter. That is undeniable. It's really just in terms of, his playmaking or the lack thereof. How much is he going to contribute on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah.
And so it's just hard to judge him when you're not seeing him on a consistent basis. But if you had to choose, you have to choose 2 of the 3: the Magic, the Hornets, and the Nets. Which 2 are you choosing?
I was going to choose. Damn. Because I think the noise around Charlotte has been, the vets have been big for them. Hayward, Terry Rozier. I've been reading up a lot of stuff about the Charlotte offseason. And, the energy is good at training camp, and they got a lot. Like, we can't, like, Charlotte's a talented team in the East. They have a lot of good players. They haven't really aced any draft outside of LaMelo, but Mark Williams was a good pick. They got that one right. But in terms of like Bryce McGowan, JT Thor, James Buckner, they haven't been able to get those right. But in terms of the players that will play, Cody Martin, Mark Williams, LaMelo, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington's a good guy. He's a jack of all trades. He can do everything. Brandon Miller's going to get some time. Like, they have a good enough team to where they can definitely make a push. In terms of Orlando, they were on that trend last year towards the back end of the year. Mm-hmm. So this year, Wagner bringing in that overseas confidence. Boncaro also. Then you got Markelle Fultz, who's trying to prove something this year for sure. You had a good draft. I'd probably lean Orlando, and I'm not happy to say because I like Charlotte as a team, but I think both teams could be better than Brooklyn. I really don't think Brooklyn's
But you get to
good.
get two, so you're taking the Hornets
Charlotte,
and the Magic.
I would take the exciting young teams. I don't think Brooklyn is good. I think Mikal Breakout, he's probably going to average 22, 23 points a game, but in terms of how this team generates offense in a half-court set, it'll probably be bottom of the league. In terms of defensively, I think they'll be a good to great defensive unit. I think they have the defensive guys, Cam, Bridges, Nick Claxton running the middle. Ben Simmons, if he's healthy, he'll probably be a good defender, but the spacing is off. The ball handlers is not there. The playmakers is pretty much non-existent. Like, this team, I don't like this team at all. And I think, like you mentioned, they have a lot of guys they can move out for some trade at, like get a lot of picks, but I don't think they'd do it. I think they're waiting for a star to be active. Because if a star was here, this would be a legit, really good team. But I'm not in love with this team. They're actually in my lottery spot.
They are in my lottery spot as well.
To me, I don't agree with that. I think the Nets are the safest team amongst those 3 that you mentioned, or amongst the other 2.
Safest, probably, yeah.
They're the safest team to where they're not going to be an exciting East team, but they're not going to be a bottom dweller lottery team either. Mikal Bridges came into this team and averaged 26. Cam Johnson averaged 16.
You know their record when he was doing that?
But that was due to necessity.
No,
Miles dropping 26. I'm not saying
Mikal.
I apologize. Excuse me. Mikal dropping 26.
Can you give me the record? Because I don't know off the top.
They were
of my
13
head.
and 15 after the trade deadline.
But then we saw them against the Sixers in the first round, and they were good.
But they got swept. It was a pretty easy series, actually.
Yeah, they played them great defensively. That was a close series.
Defense?
Yeah, it was a close series. It wasn't like the Sixers just blew them out the water. You said 13 and what?
13 and 15 post-trade deadline.
13 and 15 is about a 500 record. That's about like, you'll end the season at 40 and 42. So for me, the Nets have a safe floor where they're not a lottery team, but they're not an exciting playoff team. Mikal Bridges dropped 26. Cam Johnson can drop 16 to 18. Nick Claxton is one of the best defenders in the league. He should have been an all-defensive player. He got snubbed from it.
It was a bad snub.
But after KD and Kyrie left, nobody paid attention to him. And even though Spencer Dinwiddie and Ben Simmons don't move me in the starting lineup, I look at the bench. Dennis Smith Jr. they got from Charlotte, who last year was one of the best defenders at the point guard position.
Correct.
Cam Thomas should get more minutes and should bring a spark off the bench. And then you have Royce O'Neal and Finney Smith off the bench. So to me, the Nets have a good collection of players where, to Riv's point, if they were to get a star, like a Dame. You know, if Dame went to the Nets, I'm looking at the Nets like a really exciting Eastern Conference team. I don't know what the ceiling of that team is, but they would be really exciting. They have all the pieces there where I feel like the Magic, you are banking on the younger pieces developing faster than you expect. I expect Franz to take a leap. I expect Paolo to take a leap. But what about the players surrounding them? I think Markelle is good. He's nothing great. Anthony Black is a rookie. Wendell Carter's good.
Markelle had one of his best seasons last year.
But the Magic, yeah, but he's good. He's not great. You know, I think he's a solid player.
But a good point guard.
Between Markelle and Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a better player? I think
Markelle is a better
toss-up.
Playmaker.
Correct.
He's a better playmaker, but as a player, it's a toss-up.
I would even, if Markelle's with Brooklyn, they would probably be better than with Dinwiddie because he has shooters around him.
Not a bad statement at all.
He can play make better than
And
Dinwiddie.
that's the issue with the Magic. They don't have shooting. But you go and you bring in a Joe Ingles. Jett Howard's supposed to be that three-point shooting. Not great players to add and really move the needle for you. But at least they address that need.
You just mentioned the biggest weakness with the Magic. The biggest weakness with them is that they don't have shooting.
Correct.
And in the modern NBA, you have to have shooting. Where the Nets, yeah, you know, this roster they don't look awesome on paper talent-wise, but they have shooting. That's at least something going for them. And with the Hornets, it's just the health of LaMelo Ball. That's really what it comes down to. If LaMelo is healthy the entire season, I think the Hornets will be a playing team. Mm-hmm. LaMelo, Rozier, Miles Bridges, those are three really great players. I don't agree with Miles Bridges and what he does as a person. I don't like him as a person, but just as a basketball player, he is somebody that's going to average 20 points, and in transition, LaMelo with Bridges, with Brandon Miller spacing out the floor.
Yep.
I mean, that is a really exciting team. And Mark Williams, who last year defensively was awesome. So if I were to go two of the three, I'm going with the Nets and I'm going with the Hornets, and the Magic are my odd man out. I just feel like the Magic, they still need to make moves around Franz and Paolo in terms of bringing in shooting. Anthony Black, I love the pick, but in terms of a fit around those two players, was it the perfect pick? It was not, but he was the best available player on the board. Right now, the Magic need to hone in on shooting before I can expect a leap from them.
The hope is that Jalen continues to improve. Like Riv mentioned, Jalen Suggs quietly shot 36% from three towards that back half of the
I
season.
think your computer charger is the same as mine.
It is.
Yeah. Sweet.
And with Anthony Black, it allows you the leeway if you're the Magic to move on from a Markelle Fultz, because where Anthony Black does not have the body type and he's not as strong as Markelle, they play relatively similar. Not great shooters, are great facilitators of the basketball. Obviously, can initiate an offense. Solid defenders as well. And Anthony Black's three-point shooting was bad, but I don't think he's a bad three-point shooter. I say bad percentage-wise. What was it, 30% from three last season in college? But again, wasn't surrounded by great spacing either. And I think now going into the NBA, it'll be a lot easier for him to find space and inevitably will become the Orlando Magic starting point guard. But I say that Jalen Suggs should deservedly be in the starting lineup because it's either him or Gary Harris.
It should be Gary Harris.
I don't know. Jalen Suggs as a defender, he's still a great defender.
Gary's a good defender, though.
If Suggs improves the three-point shot dramatically, 100% him. But if he doesn't, I think Gary Harris for the spacing. And that's the thing with Markelle Fultz and Anthony Black. Is like you just mentioned it. Markelle Fultz played good. Also, I want to mention, when Dinwiddie got traded to the Nets, he averaged 9 assists per game.
He did.
He was one of the better playmakers in the league. So that's why I don't want to get into the Markelle versus Dinwiddie debate. I think they're in a similar tier of players. Markelle Fultz, he is a better player than Anthony Black right now. But since you drafted Anthony Black, you need to give him minutes. I think Anthony Black will come off the bench. Mm-hmm. But it's Markelle Fultz. I don't think he's going to be this trade chip for them. So when I look at their starting lineup, it's Markelle, it's Suggs or Gary Harris. Let's just say it's Suggs, Paolo, Franz, and Wendell. The spacey's just really wonky. It's going to have to be carried by Paolo and Franz, this offense, which it can. But that's why, to me, right now, I'm kind of just banking on what I've seen and just skill position players that the Nets already have versus the Magic and a leap that I am expecting.
You trust Mikal putting up 26 over a Boncaro leap?
I think Mikal is a 25-point per game scorer on the Nets, yeah. Mikal,
for season.
Yeah, I think Mikal for the season, if it's not 25, he's averaging 23 plus. I think Mikal is that player. I
really?
do. Yes, I do. I
The
think
tape
Paolo.
is out now.
The tape is out, but how Mikal got his offense wasn't reliant on being ball dominant and heliocentric. Mikal got his offense on a lot of off-ball actions, on screens, on dribble handoffs. He's a great scorer without the ball. And I think this offseason, players train for the role they're going to have. So Mikal training last offseason for the Suns was, I know I'm going to be a spot-up shooter. I know I'm going to be a role player. This is how I'm going to play. Where I think this offseason, Mikal is probably working on more ISO moves. He's working on his ball handling more. He's working on creating a shot more. And adding that to the arsenal that he has already off ball, I think will make him a better player. I think Mikal is a 24-plus point per game scorer, and if he doesn't average that, I'd be surprised. I think he's that.
He was in the 95th percentile once joining Brooklyn in terms of usage at 28.8%. In terms of points per shot attempt, 78th percentile, 121.9. He was pretty great. Did not pass the ball a ton, but that's not his job. And he held on to the ball.
And even then, he's somebody that will create very minimally, but it won't be nothing groundbreaking. And kind of like, an open man or a cut, he'll make a pass. I think Mikal is a great player. Like, even when he was in Phoenix, I thought he was going to take a leap. And because in Phoenix, he had a stretch of like 15 games without Devin Booker, where he was averaging 20 consistently. And I thought once he got to the Nets, he'll be that. I thought he'd go to the Nets and be like a 20, 21 flat score. I didn't see 26. But you watch Mikal, and it's like, it's not, I don't think it's fake. I don't think it's fake.
Mikal was at 20 as a rookie.
The efficiency from Mikal once joining the Nets, is that sustainable?
The defense dropped off.
Which is understandable. When you're exerting that much, was he shooting almost 40?
It was 47, 37 from the three-point line, 89 from the free throw line. I think it was something like that.
Oh, yeah, he shot 48% from the field and 38% from three.
So good.
For his career, he's a 38% three-point shooter. I think the efficiency will maintain.
Okay.
It's just really the shot attempts that increased for him. And
which made sense.
Yeah, and then he, got better. And Cam Johnson, too. Like, the Nets just have that kind of foundation. And
like, their number 2 scorer is Cam Johnson.
Yeah, I know. That's worrisome, but I don't think their offense is what's going to lead them to victories. I think their defense is what's going to lead them to victories.
Need offense, baby.
You do, but
especially in the regular season.
I don't think the Magic are going to be a top offense. If the Magic make it to the playoffs, it's off.
But I think they have a guy that can get you a bucket at the end of a game. That's what you're going to need.
Mikal can too, though.
No. I mean, like in isolation and stuff like that.
Mikal's done it. He drop like 40 or 50 against the Celtics in a comeback win?
We'll come back, Glenn.
Mikal.
Towards the back end of the season last year.
He dropped like 40, 50 on the Celtics.
No, he tweaked that game.
Yeah, that game he was ridiculous. I think Boncaro, he just has the skill set and the makeup of a number one guy.
He does.
And I think his breakout could happen sooner than most people. And Wagner, I guess we can expect one now. This is year 3. So I guess
Wagner mini broke out last season.
Yeah, so we can expect a bit of a breakout. And once again, they have a consistent point guard that can put them in the spots, with Markelle Fultz, as long as he's healthy. The shooting is obviously a concern where Brooklyn doesn't have that concern, but where Brooklyn has a concern in the playmaking and in the creating and isolation, I don't think Orlando will have that concern. So they're two obviously different teams. I think both will be good defensively. I think Brooklyn can teeter on great defensively.
Claxton. And that's why I'm really high on the Nets. I love Nick Claxton. Last year, he broke out defensively. I think this year can have a better year defensively. He is really one of those anchors on defense that I wish was on a contender right now because he'd make them dangerous. Like, if he was on the Suns right now, my God.
How much more do they need?
Shocker.
How much more do they need? Like, if Claxton was on, if you would have said, like, the Mavericks, if Claxton was on Miami.
All those teams. Mavericks, yeah.
You should have said the Mavericks.
No,
you picking the team of 3 All-Stars.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. That was crazy.
I want to reunite him with Kevin Durant.
Don't do that. Yeah. Bam and him on the same team would be awesome basketball. Think about the
I'm gonna be honest. Even a team
could,
like the Hawks, they'd get significantly better with Claxton.
I don't disagree at all.
For sure. So who's your lottery team? All I have is 3.
I have 3: the Nets, the Pistons, and the Wizards.
I'm with you. Nets, Pistons, Wizards. Detroit just has too many question marks.
I can see the Hornets and the Magic fall. Excuse me, the Hornets because of the injury. That's what concerns me. Yeah. Magic, I feel like they're really on that cusp of being a play-in team. It's just a matter of the breakouts I'm projecting. So I believe that they could be a play-in. Another team that could be in this conversation is the Raptors. Yeah. But that's dependent on if they do decide to blow it up. What's going to happen? You're not going to have Fred VanVleet into this offense. Who's going to be that initiator of the offense? I
heard
believe that
Scotty's
it
gonna
will
get
be
runs at the one.
exactly. I think that that's what they drafted Scotty to inevitably do. We saw it a little bit last season, but too inconsistently. But when he has the ball in his hands, he can be effective. But he was just too inconsistent last year to trust that going into the season. But I believe in the talent of Scotty Barnes. I don't know what's going to happen with Pascal Siakam. They're pretty insistent. They're not. It sounds as if Musai is not leaning towards signing him. There haven't been much conversations going on there. But this team was already shaky last year. You lose Fred. You do gain Dennis Schroeder. It's too worrisome for me. Nick Nurse no longer in the building, new coaching. This is a fringe lottery team, and they were one last year, but this one is worrisome for me personally.
I agree with you in what you said about the Raptors. I think it's just it's an unknown with their coach right now and what they're going to get. I think that's the biggest thing. So I'm actually looking at Mikel's.
That's what I'm wondering. What are you looking up?
I'm looking at Mikel's game log because I wanted to check out the Boston game versus Boston. He had 38. He had a game where they faced Orlando. It was one of the last games of the season. They lost. He had, bless you. He had 44 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists.
And to also piggyback off your point of it's not a lot of isolation. How often assisted rate goes off of how often the player assisted on all of their shot was assisted on all their shots made. He was in the 83rd percentile. 55% of his buckets were assisted on.
For sure.
I mean, really,
Then when he was doing a good job.
I take more into a player being able to score when it's not just dribble, get to the bucket, take you in the post. If you can really work within a team setting offensively and not be so isolation based, it allows me to believe that you can work in a system and be successful consistently.
But yeah, Mikel always had that in him though to work within a system because
You're right. That was the Suns.
He came in like that,
do a role.
Even in Villanova, he was kind of like in that role. So he always had that in him. It's just, what do they want him to be going forward? Did they want him to propel into a number 2 guy? Did they want him to be the number 1 guy?
You got to be the number 1.
Yeah. Well, because I think being the number 1 is fine because by necessity, like you mentioned earlier, because he kind of has to be the best player in the team. But if you're gearing for a star, do you want him to set him up to be a number 1? Or do you want to just, we're going to kind of play you like a number 2. So for when that number 1 comes, it won't be no confusion. You'll seamlessly keep up in your role.
I see what you're saying because that's essentially how they're playing him right now, where it's not ball is consistently in your hand. We give you the ball. You need to make everything happen. That's not how they're playing him.
He went on a stretch to end the season where he had 32 against Cleveland, 27 against Miami, 44 against Orlando, 27 against Houston, 42 against Atlanta, and 30 against Utah. And in the playoffs,
that's a great stat line.
In the playoffs, he averaged 23 against Philly. The field goal percentage was down to 43%, but he shot 40% from 3. So I wrote down all the win totals that are expected from Vegas for
I like this.
These Eastern Conference tiers teams.
I already see where this is
because we have 3 topics on this show total. It's our tiers list. Then we're going to talk about breakout players in the East. Then we're going to give our final East standings predictions. So right now, we're just going to go through these win totals, and I just want to get your guys' gauge on whether or not you think this team will go over or under these win totals. So Celtics and Bucks are both at 54.5.
Theoretically, these should be the 2 best teams in the league. Or 2 best teams in their conference, and honestly should be in competition for best team in the league. 54.5. I'm just going to assume over.
They both went over last year.
Right? You'd have to assume that would be over.
I'd go over for both of them. They both got better.
I would too.
Give me 1 second. I want to pull up the win totals for last season also. So
Milwaukee had 58, Boston had 57.
Yeah, this should be over.
The next team, I wrote these down in order, so I'm going to name them in order. Cavaliers at 50.5 wins.
I think that's a steal. I think they'll win about 54, 55 games.
Cavaliers that we did not go too in depth on. Maybe we'll go more in depth when we talk about our
We could go in depth
standings.
on them here.
Okay, perfect. The Cavaliers bringing in Max Strus and Georges Niang when they have a need at wing, I think that was an excellent move. And you talk about a team that desperately needed something and addressing it in the offseason. The Cavaliers did exactly that. And you expect that Mitchell and Garland together are going to continue to be one of the better offensive backcourts that we have in the association. You have Jared Allen. You have Mobley. I'm not even going to rely on a Mobley offensive breakout this season, just taking him at face value what he is, arguably the best defensive player in the game, right? So if that's the case, and Jared Allen also being one of the better defenders in the front court, having the arguably the best the best front court defensively. They had the best defensive rating last season. It should carry over. They just needed some shooting on the wings, and they got exactly that. So I'm with Riv. I think this is an easy over also.
They won 51 games last year.
Correct.
So they went over this, and you mentioned they got better. Even without Mobley breaking out, they were able to win 51. As long as they stay healthy, I think what Riv said is facts. They're a perfect regular season team. For them, it's really about the playoffs and what they're going to get there.
And I think that's the issue. I like their offseason for the regular season. My questions for them come more playoff time. You know, I think they made moves for the regular season, which is fine. You have to. Mobley, like you mentioned, they don't need typically they need it for the playoffs, but in terms of just the regular season, because we're speaking of regular season right now, let me stop talking about the playoffs. They don't need Mobley to break out to have 50 wins. They
Agreed.
don't. Garland and Mitchell are more than enough skill-wise for them to knock off 52, 53 wins. And I think with Mitchell, you know, he's going to have another All-NBA season. I think Garland, you could see him jump up in points and assists. For Garland, it's not necessarily about skill. It's more about physique, putting on more muscle, you know, just being more aggressive, being more savvy in his passing, less of the bad decision making. You know, it's not really skill. It's more just the mindset and continuing to get better. So I think this team, Cleveland, is the clear makeup for a team that could win 55 games in a regular season because they just have that type of team.
Fourth right now is the Sixers at 48.5 wins. Last year, they had 54.
48.5, they're taking into account the idea that James Harden most likely won't be on this.
And if he is, I hammer this.
If he is on, no.
If he is
no,
on,
over.
you over.
If he's
Hammer
on,
the-
I
they
agree
will
with
win
that.
50 games.
For sure.
Like, Philly is whatever happens in the playoffs happens. But in terms of the regular season, with Embiid, they win a lot of games.
And James Harden.
Yeah, they win a ton of games.
They
So,
could be
this
in
team got
contention for
better.
the number one seed if James Harden's
100
there.
They
I
can,
wouldn't be surprised
yeah.
if they would get the number one seed. It's just in the regular
That's a
season.
fact.
They have that type of ability.
They were only 4 games off the number one seed, and they had injuries to Embiid and Harden throughout the regular season, and Maxey. Yeah, this is one that
Yeah, Maxey came into the season injured.
I think Vegas is underrating Philly a little bit because
They might
of
not
the
think
Harden
Harden,
situation.
yeah.
And Harden might get traded. We don't know. But as of right now, he has come to practice. I saw a video of him running stairs after practice. And we mentioned Philly a lot earlier in the show, but I really love the moves they brought in for depth. Like, if you trust their 2 stars, like, if this was any other team and we're like, the 2 guys we trust, the moves they made, getting Patrick Beverly with Oubre, extending Paul Reed. I mean, those are all awesome moves. And the Sixers are a team that have 8 to 9 rotation players that can actually play in the playoffs. And I think that's what makes them different this year versus previous years. The Miami Heat and the New York Knicks, Vegas is looking at them as similar regular season teams at 45.5 wins. Last year, the Knicks had 47. The Heat had 44.
What's the line?
45.5.
I could see them maybe clearing it by like a game or 2.
People are going to say I'm a hater for thinking Heat under, but I just don't think that's not a testament to them who I think they are. It's just that in the regular season, they've proved that they could kind of coast and still make a run come playoff time. They're a playoff team.
I don't think they could survive that again.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
I think I'm more in the ballpark of them winning 47 to 48. You know, I wouldn't say over by too much, but I think Miami and the Knicks, yeah, Miami for sure. I think they realize they got to take regular season a little bit more serious this year. So I think I'm over. I'm over with
The
both
Knicks,
teams.
anytime we have expectation on them, it's been a reoccurring theme. They disappoint.
Yeah.
45.5, correct? That's the line
That
here?
is the line.
They won 47 last year. Theoretically, they should be really good this year. Jalen Brunson's this isn't the same old Knicks team. Jalen Brunson, you finally have a guy you can trust on the offensive side of the ball consistently. So I'm going to go over here, and it's really reliant on how great Jalen Brunson is.
You know, it just sucks that the Knicks were so great last year because their line is so high. They got to win 46 games. And Brunson, we know, is a star. Randall, you know, in the regular season is a star. RJ, Quentin Grimes, Mitchell Robinson, Dante off the
It's a good
bench,
core.
Josh Hart. we have a lot of great players, great rotational
A
players.
lot of depth on this team.
But the problem with it is star power. And let's say, God forbid, but let's just say Julius Randle's hurt for an extended amount of time, or Jalen Brunson. Now we're talking a team that's offense is completely shot.
I'll be honest. If Randle gets hurt, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Didn't Randle get hurt down the stretch last season and you guys were winning ball games?
I think
When he wasn't on the court, we definitely were positive.
I think you guys can
Randle
survive.
played almost every game last year.
I think you
But
can
he
survive.
hurt his ankle against us.
That was in
in
the
the
playoffs.
playoffs.
Yeah, the playoffs.
No, against us.
No, I'm saying, but in the playoffs is when the injury was bothering him.
He played 77 games.
I think
What
you
am I
guys
thinking
can
of?
survive without Randle. I think your offense would be able to generate more efficient
With
buckets.
Brunson for sure.
Yeah, as long as Brunson's not hurt. Because remember, I think after January, Brunson became the number one. And
He averaged 30.
Yeah, your offense, as long as Jalen Brunson's not as healthy, as long as Jalen Brunson is healthy, I think your offense can generate enough efficient points, can definitely score the ball and maintain the
Getting in
defense.
reverse. I'm thinking about when Brunson got hurt and it was primarily on Randall. Got it. That was when shit got
Yeah,
rough.
I think Randall won't be a big hit. I think honestly, if you guys
RJ could
trade him,
break out if that happens.
oh god, we're still thinking about that.
Nah, you don't think RJ could average 23, 24 if Randall gets hurt?
I'm tired of thinking of what he can do.
He averages 20 already.
Randall
It's-
got
yo,
hurt
honest to
against
God,
Miami.
I won't even lie to
I'm
you,
getting so
Joel. When
confused.
RJ averages a struggling 20 points.
19.6.
You're saying RJ?
I said when
This last
RJ gets
season.
20, it looks like he literally
Can you respect him
He
like he
literally-
didn't dog the Cavs?
dogged the
He was
Cavs?
great in the Cavs series.
What are we doing?
He was great in the
good.
Cavs
He was
series.
finally good.
He was.
I'm saying when RJ gets 20, it looks like he's struggling to get
for
that
what
20.
RJ has been,
Let's see.
he was great against the Cavaliers.
Great.
For what he's been,
No,
he was
no.
great
Don't-
against the
don't
Cavs.
fix it up
I,
now.
that's what I'm saying.
Great.
He was.
Okay, let's see.
For what he's been, he was
I see
great.
You're
what
saying he was Star J.
Star J. Barrett, baby.
Okay. I needed. That's what I needed. All right, let's see.
I have no worries.
Against the Cavs, he went. Okay, so the first game he had 7.
Okay.
Second game he had 14.
Okay.
Third game he had 19.
Locked.
Fourth game he had 26.
He's him.
Fifth game he had 21.
So he's
This
like
is
that.
this is who you call great.
He was great.
That's okay, bro. Like
Game 1, whatever.
game 2,
It's
whatever, right?
It's crazy how, like, in the moment,
You feel
Knicks
great
fans
about it.
treated
Yeah,
those
they did.
games as the breakout.
listen,
essential.
One game he
Three-
went 0 for 6 from 3.
3 for he's not a 3-point shooter, bro. It's just never been.
One
his
year he
game.
was.
He was
Remember that.
38%, bro.
Don't
What
ever
the
forget.
fuck was he on that year?
One game he went. Oh god.
I
Yeah,
think
he's
he shot 40%.
Was it 40?
Yeah.
Damn, bro.
He shot 40%.
against Miami. He was good.
Facts.
Against
Okay.
Miami, he was good. He went
So
26.
he carried it over into the Miami series.
Where's Miami? He was good, yeah.
He
Except for
went
the
26.
last game.
He went 26, 24, 14, 24, 26, 11.
So just respect him is all I'm going to say.
No, you said Cleveland. If you would have said Miami, you would have.
He had a great 3-4-5. So in the closeout games, he was amazing. And then against Miami, he was solid as fuck.
He was all right. He was good against Miami. I'll give you that. You said great. He was going crazy.
I'm going to
coulda beat
stand on
Miami,
what I
man.
said. He was great in the playoffs.
Talk your shit. Remember Atlanta?
So-
I do, sadly.
Between the Heat and the Knicks, who would you
Everyone
take?
was bad.
Who would you take to have more wins?
I think the Knicks are the definition of a regular season team.
Ooh, that's mean.
But that, I mean, is that wrong?
we were close to the conference finals, man.
So was Philly. Fuck.
We almost beat the team that went to the finals, the Heat.
Good point.
You almost beat them? No.
It went to 6.
Philly went to 7.
We went to 6, and
Jimmy
we
missed
got
the game. And
they
nothing
were-
from
no, they-
Randall.
Jimmy missed a game.
Not just 7 either. The Philly didn't just go 7. They were up.
Yeah.
Brunson backpacked against the Heat.
Jimmy missed a game. You remember that?
He missed the game.
I know. So it really could have been 5, honestly. But and you guys almost lost game 2.
But we did it.
It came down to the fucking wire.
It was way too close
Game
for
1,
comfort.
the refs cheated
Oh
for
god.
the Heat. They did. Should have been 7.
I would go. I'm gonna go Knicks. I'm going Knicks. I think you have.
I think the Knicks are a better regular season team.
Please,
I just,
Miami,
it's just tough,
please.
man.
We're here respecting
Miami,
you guys.
please.
You guys are
We are
so good.
we are
Yeah,
respecting
you're
you guys.
so good. You can coast in the regular season and still be effective in the playoffs. That's not a thing that many teams can do.
I'm worried about the Knicks a little bit, even in
'Cause
trying to
there's
take them over.
expectation?
Yeah, I'm worried about the
Yeah.
Knicks because last year their win total probably was at like 36,
Mm-hmm.
and they shattered it. But this year, I don't feel comfortable in putting any bet on the Knicks and Heat to go over their win totals
That's
or
a
under.
fact.
These are two of the ones that I'm kind of staying away from.
But you have to answer.
I would go with the Knicks to have a better regular
Really thought he was
season.
picking Miami.
No.
No shot now.
Yeah, of course.
But if you had to say over under for 45.5.
You say both.
I'll go over for the Knicks, and I would go under for the Heat.
Like how many games under?
I think they would win 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they just won't clear the number.
It'd just be
Okay.
right there.
Cool.
Like, out of all the teams I've mentioned so far, the only ones that I'm taking a bet on would be the Sixers right now, I think, is a steal at 48.5.
I'm with you.
That's the one that I'm really looking at it as a major steal. And the Cavaliers, I'm looking at it. But so far, if like you're listening to me and you're thinking about placing a bet on these win totals, the one I'm definitely going with is the Sixers.
Let it be known that the Atlanta Hawks won one more game than the Chicago Bulls, and Drew thinks it's a big gap.
They're way
actually
better
next.
offense.
Okay. They
They're
won one
next.
more game.
Atlanta is projecting the Hawks to win 41.5 games. No other team is with them right now.
They won 41 last year.
They sure did.
So they're expecting them to be a 42-win team this year.
They should be over.
I would say they flatline it again. So I'd say they win 41.
I think that's reasonable. I think AJ Griffin can be great for them. He's an awesome player.
I like him a lot.
But the Hawks are just they're not an ideal fit with Trey and DeJounte. It just feels like a bunch of role players and then Trey Young, DeJounte, and I don't think that
They figured
has
it
the
out
hops
very
to it.
early in the season. You need to keep Trey on the ball. It's not going to work out that
Quinn
the
Snyder did
idea-
come late, so
That's what I'm saying. And Quinn came in and they played really good basketball. Now you get a full off season.
actually, I'm gonna go over.
It should be.
I'll go
It
over.
should be over.
I think Atlanta's cool. I'll go over.
You can't trust DeAndre Hunter to stay healthy, but when he's on the court, obviously he's a positive.
He's a good player.
I think AJ Griffin might be better than DeAndre Hunter.
I think he might be
Offensively,
better
yes.
than
He provides
Sadiq,
more.
honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't forget Bogdanovic.
Bogdanovic is also coming off the bench. That's
He's
correct.
probably their third best scorer for sure.
So you're saying Trey?
He might be a better scorer than
Is he
DeJounte.
Is he a better scorer than DeAndre?
I think so. Bogdanovic, yeah, I think so. I think
He
he might be
is.
a better scorer than DeJounte, just because of how efficient he is as a shooter. From the
I mean,
three-point line.
DeJounte was pretty efficient from the midi this season. Like,
He's always
Overly.
going to take the midi, but I like Bogdanovic is also a good shooter from both.
Mm-hmm.
He can hit his free throws. He's not a bad secondary playmaker or third playmaker. You know, he
Mm-hmm.
can't be the number one, but he can make some plays in the pick and roll, and he hits some tough shots. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I like Bogdanovic. I really do. Like I really like it. Like if he
I
was
think
on a
off the
club team,
bench, being a
bring
rotational
him to
piece,
Golden
that's a
State,
solid.
man.
The next team is the Pacers. 38.5 wins. Last year they won 35. Tyrese played 56 games though.
That's the problem.
The Pacers right now, they're my value pick for this win total. 38.5. I think they're a playoff team. I think they're a surprise team in the East. Buddy Hield has yet to get traded yet, so I'm still under the assumption Buddy Hield will play for this team. Tyrese, I think there's another level to his game. I think there is a level where he is a 25-point per game scorer. He's averaging still the same amount of assists. He's leading the league in assists. And if you get even 60 to 65 games from Tyrese, this is a 40-plus win team easily.
You know what's crazy? It's just so crazy how life works in the sense of Garland was doing what Tyrese was doing the year before, and then they bring in a star, and he's kind of like shifted to the second guy.
It's because the usage. Did
Yeah.
you see Donovan's usage?
It's nuts.
Like almost 33, 34%.
Yeah.
He's amazing, but why are we allowing Garland to initiate and get things
Hey,
going?
man, 28 points a game. You mentioned a buck.
He's
I would,
amazing.
what's it, 35?
38.5.
38.5. That means they have to win 40 games. I can see it. It's just Tyrese.
It's 39-win team.
Is Reese a top 3 passer in the NBA?
Off the top of my head,
I respect
would
Jokic
say,
as number 1, if that's what we want to
I'd
say.
be safe, probably top 5. I still think LeBron's up there.
I also was accounting for LeBron number 2.
Jokic, Luka, LeBron. No.
And even you could throw Harden up there. There's a lot of guys. I say top 5 to be top 6, 7 to be safe.
I was watching just a highlight tape of just him passing.
Nuts.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hallie?
Yes, amazing.
There's a lot of good passes in the league, man.
Like, they really just made like a 10-minute montage of just passing. No buckets, just straight him dishing.
They did
They
that.
got Obi topping this year.
So that's what I was going to say about the Pacers.
You know, there's a
Bruce Brown, they made moves to win, honestly. Bringing in Obi Toppin, people are having rumblings of potentially him
In
being
transition, that would be awesome.
a candidate for most improved. I don't know about that.
Who?
I think
Obi Toppin?
Obi Toppin. I think he's going to be good. I don't
might
know
start.
about conversation about he should. He should. Would you start Jarris or him?
I think I'll let him fight for it.
I don't disagree there.
I'll let him fight for it, but I think right now Obi should have the edge.
I agree with that.
You definitely go into training camp with the mindset like, yeah, Obi probably should start.
And
but
this
if
isn't
Jarris outworks him,
this isn't a knock on Obi, but if Jarris comes in and starts
I mean, think about that front court.
over Obi, then we have to have a conversation about Obi.
But even think about it like this, though. Last year, the Pacers drafted Benedict Mathurin high, and he did not start for them.
Facts.
He came off the bench. I think Rick Carlisle is one of those coaches that he makes rookies fight for it.
Agreed.
And even though Mathurin was averaging 20, he should have started.
Inefficient 20, but nevertheless, 20 is 20.
He was averaging 20. So to me, I think when I look at the starters for the Pacers, it's Tyrese, Buddy Hield, Miles Turner. Those are the locked-in three. Bruce Brown, I think, should start.
No, I think he should start personally.
Think so? Bring Benedict off the bench again?
Correct. I think Benedict needs to be your sixth
Buddy.
man. Yeah, no, not
hasn't been
necessarily.
moved yet.
Not necessarily. Because if they're moving Buddy, then Benedict starts.
Well, Buddy wants to be moved.
Well, Buddy wants his money.
No. They've stopped.
Really?
Yeah, he wants to be traded. They couldn't find a deal.
Right now, ESPN is projecting this as a starting lineup. Tyrese, Mathurin, Bruce Brown, Obi, Miles Turner.
Yep.
Off the bench, it's Andrew Nemhard, Buddy Hield, T.J. McConnell, Jarris Walker, and Aaron Nesmith.
And Jalen Smith also.
And Jalen Smith, yeah. Isaiah Jackson's also pretty good, too.
That's a fact.
I think the difference with Benedict not starting.
Come on now.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to just say Mathurin. I think with Mathurin not starting and Jarris not starting is when Mathurin didn't start, there was proven players in front of him. I don't think Obi is proven yet. I think he's still trying to find his way. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are fighting for it in camp because Jarris and Miles Turner defensively, it makes me shiver. So you know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool. But also Obi provides that type of spacing Jarris may not provide right now. So the offense can take an input. So it's like, what do you want? So I think let him fight for it. In my opinion, let him fight for it in camp. Whoever outworks whoever plays better, you have him start. Either or can start, and I don't think it'd be a big issue.
Yep.
But Indiana, man, I'll probably
2 years too early, man.
Go over by like a game or two.
The way I see the Pacers running their offense, I think Rick Carlisle wants to be real transition heavy, which is why you have Mathurin starting, Bruce Brown starting, who can initiate off the break, Obi Toppin starting. I think that's a fun transition team. Sure. And in the half court, Tyrese is always going to be able to generate things in the half court. I think the drop off from them with Tyrese and without offensive rating wise was like a top 5 offense versus one of the worst offenses in the league. As long as Tyrese is healthy, I feel very comfortable in this win total of 38.5 being smashed. I think the Pacers they're a team that can be in the 45 win total. I think if Tyrese is healthy.
Ooh,
I'm very high on them, and that's a team I'm definitely putting all my chips in this season in the East.
45 wins would be more than Miami last season, more than Atlanta last season, Chicago and Toronto would just be under the Knicks. So they would have been a top 6 lock.
They were before Tyrese got hurt.
That's true. Listen, I believe that this Pacers team is definitely going to be significantly better than last year. And so long as Tyrese Halliburton stays healthy and is on the court, this offense will be fun and really explosive. I don't hate that opinion, Joel. 45 wins, not a crazy opinion. I understand where you're coming from. They've got a lot of exciting young players, and adding Bruce Brown to this, we've seen him go from a net situation where he was an excellent role player to being a championship-level role player on the Denver Nuggets. He had to go get his money, and deservedly so. This Pacers unit's fun. I definitely am going to go over on this win total as well.
There are 3 teams right now that Vegas has lumped together at 37.5 wins. The Bulls, the Magic, and the Nets.
How many wins?
37.5.
These are all really good lines. Vegas did it again.
We're going to lose less than 30.
Magic should be over. Bulls.
Over 37.5?
Bulls should be over. You're saying Magic?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had 34 last year. They with another year of Paolo, another year of Franz, Jalen Suggs hopefully can improve off of last year's stretch down the end of the season. Anthony Black gets added to the offense depending on how much he's going to play. They did add shooting to their team. Markelle Fultz, you always have the injury concern with him, but he's a solid ball player. He had one of his better seasons last year. Wendell Carter, one of the more underrated bigs in the league. They should win over 37 games. They should.
I think it's a tough line. I think all these 3 teams being lumped together is tough.
I've been saying over for every team. I don't care.
I don't think you said under for one team.
Miami.
Actually.
Yeah, you did say for Miami. The Bulls are going over. What are we doing?
Bro, the Bulls are not that good.
If there's a team that goes under here, I think it's most likely the Nets and
You
Magic.
know, let's make a wager. Let's do it. Bet
Who's
on it.
better?
Yeah.
Atlanta or the Bulls?
Yeah, let's do it. Don't be
Okay.
scared now.
I said okay. How much?
50 beans.
All right, done.
Let's do it. 37.
Hawks, Bulls.
Come on, man. We won 40 games last year.
Yeah, got it.
So we'll win over 37.
So you guys regressed from the year before. And then here we are now. Look, he's making me hate the Bulls. I didn't want to do this, man.
Didn't Atlanta regress too?
No.
Atlanta,
Yes.
somewhat, yes.
They were 8th seed before.
No. The year before.
How many games they won the year before? I already got it. out.
Atlanta's kind of been in the whatever mode for a while, though.
They were the
Last
8th.
2
They were the
years.
Yeah,
8th.
they won 43 games the year before. 41.
They were the.
Clown.
They looked way better down the stretch of last year than they did.
We
the year
didn't look
before.
way better. Yo, this guy's a sick guy.
What you look?
Did
what?
we not look better?
Your defense was very good in the second half of the
But you
season.
lost
You're
Pat
right.
Bev.
We got Javon Carter, man.
Javon's defensively is like that.
Nah, he's nice. The Nets 37.5. I would take the under on the Nets.
The Nets, I'm going under. The Bulls, I'm going over.
The Nets last year won 45 games, but like you said, 13 and 15 after they got Mikal and all them guys. Yeah, that one. I mean, all
If they're
these
going
teams
under
really-
37, bro. They're not a playing team.
I don't know. That's why it's tough for me because I can see the Nets finishing 40 and 42, 41 and 41. Like one thing
All right,
about
so you're
them
going over.
is that they're gonna play hard. I think they're gonna play hard.
So you're going over.
Yeah, all these lines are pretty favorable.
They're good.
The Bulls, I think, is a good line. The Nets is a good line. The Magic is the one that you're like, if you believe in a team, fine. You just put it on.
That's
them.
a take your risk.
I don't feel good about the Magic line.
That's a swing one.
I want to believe in them because I really fuck with them.
What was the line again? 30.
37.5
And that's
wins.
Nets, Bulls, Magic.
So they
Okay.
got to win 38.
Nets will not under.
Mhm.
Bulls over. Orlando, I flat it. Flat.
I know. I don't want to have an over under for the Magic.
I don't either, so I'm going flat.
The
Just to be safe.
Raptors are at 36.5.
That might be an under for me.
The Raptors haven't lost 36 games in so long.
I know, bro. They're model consistency. Nick Nurse no longer there though.
They added Dennis Schroeder.
They did.
And
Dennis
Grady
Schroeder.
Dick.
Dennis Schroeder outside of LA.
If
Not
they
good.
don't blow it up,
Outside of OKC.
which is what's the scary part, I don't know what they're gonna do with these players at the deadline. So I could say over. They
Bring
could
me
be on
Gary
pace.
Trent.
Then they trade them.
Bring me Gary Trent.
But I believe they'll blow it up. So I'll go under.
What do you think? This guy's trying to get away with not giving over unders, man. What the hell's wrong with him?
I don't know.
The Bulls over, Nets over, Magic under, Raptors.
I baited him into the net.
As long as they got Pascal and OG,
Right?
Scotty Barnes is whatever. Like even if he doesn't take a
Respect
lead, like
him.
he's solid.
Where does that rank in playoff teams as bottom two duo? Out of
It's
all
the
players?
worst. It's one of the worst.
Easily the worst.
But the Raptors, as long as Siakam has like an All NBA year, I find it hard to believe that they won't be at least
Gonna go with a caveat here.
competitive.
If Siakam is with the team the whole season, they should hit the over. If he's traded before or at the
They won't hit the
deadline,
under.
they're gonna be under.
But then again, I don't know. You know, it's really how much you trust the coach, the new coach,
Mhm.
and if he's going to be any good. So I would probably go safe here and I'll just say under, just because I think they're a big unknown. They're a big unknown. Now on to the lottery teams.
Darko Ravicic.
The Vegas has the Hornets.
Rajakovic. That's the Toronto head coach name.
Vegas has the Hornets at 30.5 wins.
over. If we believe in them as much as we want to,
30 and a half?
Yeah,
Oh
I'll go
my
over.
God.
they won 27 games last year.
I get it, but they were also there were a lot
They
of
get hurt.
there were a lot of bad teams last year competing for one thing and one thing only, and that's Victor Wembanyama.
They had more wins than 3 teams last year.
No, the Hornets were really bad.
They
last year.
get hurt like them in Detroit get hurt a lot.
You know what they don't talk about though that really bothers me? LaMelo Ball shooting 40% on 11 attempts from 3.
It's because he can't get to the fucking rim.
But that's still elite level
He's still a
shooting.
great shooter, but yeah, he can't get to the rim.
That's
You
elite
see-
level
no,
shooting.
but do you see how he's like how far he's like he
Okay,
he
and
really can't get to the
Are
rim.
we gonna?
No, it's
wow,
great.
man.
But,
Hey,
elevate your game.
We live in a world where you can take 11 attempts from 3, shoot efficient as hell.
What did Legends
And
of Winter
that's
say
a
to KD?
negative.
No rim pressure, man. Puts no rim pressure. Sorry.
He does not pressure the rim.
So I guess
unfortunately.
KD is an elite scorer anymore because he doesn't pressure the rim, right? That's
He
what
got
we're
an
talking.
elite midi though.
That's what we're talking about.
I'm trolling, bro. LaMelo.
And LaMelo Fringe is an elite 3-point shooter.
No, damn near elite. 11 attempts for 40%. I'll call you.
That's
elite.
OD.
Yeah.
LaMelo's an
You were
amazing
disrespecting
player.
him, man.
Why? Because I
I
said
keep
Tyrese
receipts.
is better.
I keep receipts, man.
Did you say Tyrese better?
Yes, he is better. But LaMelo is a great player.
6'8". Can't teach that.
You can't.
Can't teach that.
Imagine making the Hornets a playing team.
Hornets 30.5 wins.
I think they'll clear it 30 now.
I think it's a steal. Like 30, we're talking about them getting 31 wins.
Miles Bridges is back too.
How long is Miles Bridges suspended to start the year?
He's not there.
He's actually booted up.
I was about to say, I think they said that his season long last year, just sitting out.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I
Let
think
me
he
make
will
sure.
he will start.
Let me make sure. I'm almost positive.
Listen, LaMelo, Rozier, Miles Bridges. Regardless of how you feel personally, I mean, come on, that's 3 talented players right there.
So it says the NBA suspends Miles Bridges for 30 games. Apparently, let me make sure I'm reading it correctly. He's going to be suspended for the first 10 games. They're saying that last season only accounts for 20 games.
Okay. That's still not a long suspension, though.
No, 10 games,
10
is
games and
really,
he'll be back.
in the grand scheme of things, is nothing for the Hornets.
I think
10 games?
10 games this
I,
season.
I think the Hornets should go over this win total. Like, right now, I've been starring the win totals that I love the most. The Sixers, the Pacers, and the Hornets. Those are my 3 right now that I think are like value picks. They're value steals.
The Celtics should just continue to be one of the best teams in the league. 54.5 when they won 57. They could be in that 57 to 60 territory, honestly. They should be a dominant team in the regular season.
The Celtics?
The
you're saying?
Celtics, correct. And the Bucks too. I mean, name another team in the regular season as consistent as them.
I don't know. They might not be able to. I think Giannis is eligible for the load management, and Dame too are eligible for the load management rules.
I'm excited to watch Milwaukee basketball, man.
You saw Kawhi get pissed off that they tried to say it was because of him.
What do you mean?
Like about the load. They asked him about the load management questions, and he was kind of like, I don't know what they're talking about. I tore my meniscus and I tore my ACL. Like I'd be legit hurt. I don't sit out.
I would be pissed off if I was Kawhi too.
Yeah.
Because when he's healthy, he plays.
Yeah.
I think the NBA ruling of that is just stupid because you're not going to stop players from sitting out if they feel hurt.
And they can easily make up an injury. It's very easy.
And you're going to find players if, even if
They'll launch investigations.
Yes.
Remember when Dame said he wasn't injured?
even if doctors say like, okay, you're clear to play, if that player goes, well, like my knee feels really sore right now, should the player just play to not get fined or should they sit out for their body? I think they should sit out for their body. It's just hard to enforce that. And that's why I think it's not going to help much.
Kyrie sitting out he sat out the preseason game. It's starting already. We're here.
I'm looking at the Hornets roster. LaMelo, Rozier, Brandon Miller, PJ Washington, Miles Bridges, Mark
like
Williams,
PJ as a player, man.
Gordon Hayward, Nick Richards, who's a good backup big, and they got Edmund Summer, who was actually a pretty good player.
Good
on the
defensive
Nets.
player for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
Causes
those,
a lot of turnovers.
yeah, like these players, I think
It's a
they're
good
team.
9-man roster. Like
Yeah.
it's a legit good one. It's just can they put it together? Can
And
they
stay
put
on the court.
Can they stay on the court, put it together, put the immaturity aside? Can the vets be vets? Can Clifford coach? That's another thing.
He can coach though,
Yeah. No, I'm saying like coach this group into can they really be this team?
because they took a leap defensively last year.
They did.
A lot of
And that
guys
started
were
with
out.
Dennison and
Yeah.
Mark.
And Dennis is gone. I mean, Edmund Summers, I think, can give you that type of defense. Name me Detroit's line, man. What we doing?
Detroit is 27.5.
Oh my God! Smash it!
Don't do that, man.
Smash it,
Don't
smash
do
it,
that,
smash
man.
it. They won 17 games and Cade played 8 of them. They got better.
Cade immediately does make them better.
He gives them 5 wins at most. That's 22.
Man,
They
this
added
team
some
is
guys.
bad,
How
bro.
many wins did they win last year?
17.
Wow.
Yeah.
27.5 is generous.
I'm going to go under respectfully. Although
probably
they
go
do
under,
have
too.
some exciting players on this team. Obviously,
They didn't have a good
Jalen
offseason?
Durant. Asar and did they? Joe Harris, I guess.
This guy doesn't even know who they brought in.
It was just Joe Harris
Monty
and
Morris.
Monty
Yeah,
Morris.
stop
He was on the Wizards
sleeping.
last season. Facts.
He's
Respect.
traded.
Who else did they bring in? Monte Morris.
Yeah, Monte Morris.
We just said that.
They brought in shooting. They had a good draft.
It was Joe Harris. They drafted Asar.
Marcus Sasser, too.
James Wiseman and Bagley are fighting for the backup center
I
spot.
think Bagley probably wins it, which would be
Is
hilarious.
Sasser gonna get minutes?
Nah.
I was gonna say Monty's in front of him, Killian's in front of him,
Monty-
Alec is in front of him.
Who?
I said Killian.
Okay.
Killian could have
Stop,
played
please
worse
stop,
last
please.
season.
Well, you know what the bar is for him?
He played better than what the bar was.
That's not saying much. His bars.
Can you respect that he
God.
played? Come on, bro.
I
The
think,
days of hating on Killian Hayes are over.
Nuts.
It's over.
Hating was insane to say. He wasn't good.
He wasn't.
Detroit. I saw you made a tweet, and it was a good tweet. It was what was it?
How long until
And
they're
that's
not poverty anymore?
Yeah, and that's a fact. How long do we have to wait for these young players to like? Obviously, Duran just came in, so we're gonna give him that leeway. Ivy just came in, we'll give him that leeway.
This is really Cade's second year.
It is, but it's like, come on, like Monty did just get there, so okay, we'll give him like a year or two this year, and then next year, because Asar's a rookie. But they got to make some moves. It's starting to, like, you have the foundation, you have the coach, you have the young players. Now it's time to bring in those vets. They do have Bogue, so that's good. They brought in Morris, they brought in Joe Harris. So you brought some veterans.
He should be a trade piece, though.
Joe?
No,
they talk about Bogdanovich. Who would play
he
the
makes
four?
him significantly better though.
No, I know that,
They
but
need
if you're
space.
And he's on a friendly, but his deal isn't
but
bad.
if you're a team like the Pistons and you could get 2 first-round picks,
that's bringing in more young talent, so already loaded young talent.
I don't disagree with you.
Maybe it's just me, but if I'm the Pistons, the starting lineup would be Cade, Ivy, Harris, Bogdanovich, and Duran.
They might start Stewart.
I need to see Asar start off rip
I don't need to see it.
I would rather him play with Monte.
because I want to see them play with pace.
I want him to play with Monty Morris.
I'd rather see them play with
Okay.
spacing.
I think
With
Monty
a vet.
Morris is the perfect point guard that can get him in spots to score. So I would rather him
that's
come off
not-
the bench.
That's not Cade. That's not
Hey,
Jaden.
yeah, you want.
Jaden was a pretty solid
He is, but
playmaker
sometimes
last
he's
season.
erratic, and
He
I think
was.
Morris brings more of a pace. I think he brings an understanding of the point guard position. As he wasn't a point guard, so he's still learning the position.
sure.
So I think Asar coming up the bench isn't a bad idea. He's still a little bit raw, so I think
He
him
is.
coming up the bench.
But defensively, I
yeah.
feel like this lineup needs that.
But you need the spacing around Cade and Ivy. So I think Joe, even if it's not just Joe, I know for sure Bogdanovich needs to start.
Absolutely.
They're trying
That's
to
a
start
lock.
Isaiah though. It's losing me. I don't know about all that. Isaiah Stewart and shit.
I can understand starting Joe. Starting Joe over Asar makes sense, especially with Bogdanovich. You do have some solid spacing. Jaden can improve going into year 2. Wasn't that efficient as a 3-point shooter last year. But Cade he's also struggled with his 3-point shot so far into his career, but he was pretty solid towards the back half of his rookie season. And then, of course, we didn't see him play much last season. Cade should be a breakout player, a breakout candidate this year. And we're going to get into our breakouts later. Of course, Cade's going to be in that conversation, but he needs to. Because if not this season, then when? Because then we really start to have concerns. But I do believe in the talent that is Cade Cunningham. He's been pretty exciting so far to watch in this offseason.
The last team here is the Wizards at 23.5 win total.
Should be under.
I will be in Washington, by the way. I'm so serious. I'm gonna catch a few games. It's gonna be cheap. I can get
If Jordan Poole is 25 point per game scorer, you got Kuzma, you got Tyus Jones,
Did you see the aura?
Pittsburgh,
Did you
Denny
see the-
Advia.
Did you see the aura at photo shoots?
Yeah, I saw it.
It was fire, wasn't it?
You
You can say I know.
I won't go as far to say fire, honestly.
It was good vibes.
Honestly, not really.
Wizards 24
hating.
wins.
Not hating, bro. It's just they're a whatever team.
Uh-huh.
And he is an above average player.
Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
Okay, I can live with that.
All right.
You have a bunch of above average players in the Lakers,
Agreed.
or at Lakers photo shoot, which dog shit, by the way.
Okay. Got the best player of all time on our team.
Yeah,
Odds are
arguably.
up. I don't feel bad at all. Listen, man, when we're at the top of the league and you're talking about the Wizards now, comparing it to the Lakers, I don't think that's the argument that you want to get into, bro.
My guy has a ring on the Wizards.
I'll be
man.
honest, I don't think there's a single team that you like that are as good as the Lakers going into this year. And that's a lot of them. Give me that. Just cooked his ass.
No,
Yeah, I know.
no,
The Warriors, no.
I don't think there is.
Here's
I
the
think-
here's the
ugh,
only
I
one
think
you
the
can
Lakers
hang
are
on
better.
to. The only one you can hang on to, which if you mention them, I'd have to raise my hands in defeat, the Clippers. Because when they're healthy and they play us, we lose. They have gotten our number, and we get our ass
I
kicked
think
almost
I
every
think the
time we
Lakers
play
are
them.
better than the Warriors. I do think though at the same time the Lakers won the same amount of games in the WCF as all of my teams last year. So yeah, like, you went out there and got fucking swept. Like,
Come on,
embarrassing.
Bro. It was
like,
better than what the sweep said. The sweep.
I'll be honest, you should let
says.
anybody else go because getting swept was so embarrassing.
It sucked.
So what do you think about this win total?
Fucking under, bro. Nah,
Tyus Jones, Kuzma.
I like
Poole.
it's gonna be cool over there, like to watch, but they're gonna get blown out a lot. They're gonna lose a lot. Of
It's
So you
games.
gonna
don't
be
think they'll win
exciting
24
bad
games?
basketball.
I think if they can get to, I
All
think
they
they'll
need
win
is 24.
24. I'll go over. Fuck it, we're here. Vibes over.
24 win team.
Begging for the 25. 25 wins is here. Begging.
God, this is just you want to talk about the bar being low. That is the bar being low.
Listen, man, you gotta start somewhere. We get the number 1 pick.
I'm not moved.
You don't have to be moved.
Because the Pistons been trying to get the number 1 overall pick for years. They got it once, and right now it's been a fold.
Paired Cade with Victor.
It would have been awesome. That would have been viral. They definitely were the team that needed Victor the most.
I mean, it's not our fault. The league rigs.
No, it was rigged.
For sure.
It was rigged. There's no way it wasn't.
Breakout players. Who you got?
All right. I won't say Cade Cunningham because I just said, and I know Riv is, jerking and thinking about him. My number 2 is going to be Franz Wagner, of course, with the Orlando Magic, was excellent last year. I think that he should be in that 22 to 24 points per game. I think he'll have that usage with the Orlando Magic. There's some freedom that he's been now granted because he's proven himself to be such a great offensive player. I think that we're looking towards him being in the candidate for most improved, especially if the Orlando Magic solidify themselves in that play-in tier. My next name on this list is going to be, I stay consistent, Scotty Barnes. Now that he's going to I can't look at Riv when I'm.
He looked at me. That's what it was. That's what I tried not to look at him.
I'm gonna stay 10 toes down with my boy Scotty because now
Terrible toes.
Now I'm gonna. Riv, can I lock in,
Sorry, my
please,
fault,
bro?
my fault.
You're making me laugh, and I don't appreciate it.
Sorry, the East is just so funny.
I say he's a breakout candidate because he's primarily going to be on ball. He's going to be the initiator of this offense with Fred VanVleet being gone. I think that's what the Raptors drafted Scotty for. And on top of him being a great defender, which he honestly needs to lock in, going into this year, though, him being the initiator, having the ball in his hands, I think it'll allow him to gain more confidence on the offensive side of the ball, where we saw him in moments have some really good highs against the Lakers. That's a game that sticks out to me where he dominated that game. He was able to score in all facets, but it's because he was so constantly on the ball. So if we start to see that for a whole season, see him gain some confidence, he's definitely a breakout candidate for me. Cameron Johnson, we spoke about it early on. Last season, he went from the Phoenix Suns to the Nets. Now, Riv, I'm being honest. I'm sick and tired of you because you slept last season.
Wait.
You're a sleeper on Cam Johnson. You're also a sleeper on Cam Johnson. You have no choice now because you're staying over on the Nets.
He averages 16 points a game.
You know why? You know why it's great to say that or great to see that? Because when I said if you gave Cam more opportunities, he could definitely be in that tier of points per game. And what happened? Exactly that. So you guys slept. It's okay. He's a better player than what you guys thought. That's on you guys.
What did he do that was better in Brooklyn instead of just having more opportunities to shoot the ball?
That's really what it was. You give him more opportunities.
So
he's gonna give
nothing
more
got
output.
better. He just
he's
got
just
more
the same
opportunity.
guy.
Oh, interesting.
It says you made him sound like when he was
He's
on
efficient
Phoenix,
and he gets buckets.
you made him sound like he could be one of those like top 3 scorer guys on a team.
He's going to be a top 2 scorer on the Nets.
But like,
So eat shit.
no, I don't see it.
Eat it.
He's not a better scorer than Cam Thomas.
Okay. He's going to average more points this season.
Doesn't move me.
Okay.
Not bad.
Regardless, this is going to be a breakout candidate. He went from 11 points on the Suns, and when he got more opportunity, he's going to be the second scorer on the Nets. He could be in that 18 to 20 points range just because of necessity. I do.
Cameron?
Yeah, absolutely. He was at 16 this past
Talk your
season
shit,
when he
bro.
was on the
Talk
Nets.
your
No,
shit.
I feel great about it. And my last 2, Mark Williams. Obviously, last year he had a mini breakout as a rookie on the defensive side of the ball. He's going to be huge, especially with the idea that they need to lock in on the defensive side of the ball. That's always been an issue since LaMelo's got drafted to the Hornets, that they've been one of the worst defensive teams. He came in and towards the end of the season changed that around. I'm expecting him to fully immerse himself as one of the better big defenders in the game. And then AJ Griffin, last year did not get much playing time, but in his limited opportunity was one of the more efficient, was very efficient in that limited opportunity. I think that there is now a position for him to get more minutes, or at least Quinn Snyder should put him in the game to play more because he is such a solid, efficient offensive player. It's, to me, watching the tape last year, he reminds me of a poor man's Jaylen Brown at this point in time. He's just a little bit slow. That's what he needs to just work on, being a little bit more explosive, trusting his movements. But I think he's primed for a breakout in terms of just getting more minutes, being a solid role player.
He's looking at me. That's why I'm laughing.
It's okay.
Why are you looking at me, bro? Who do you say?
Because I said a low-key name of AJ Griffin. I don't mean he's breaking out into
He
a
stole
star,
my
but
guy.
it's
He
just
said
like
Jaylen Brown. I caught me off guard a little bit.
Oh, watch his tape. Honestly, it's
Are you saying
his
breakout player
performance.
Jaylen Brown?
No.
No, he said AJ Griffin comp Jaylen Brown.
Oh, really?
If I watching the tape, he really does remind me of a Jaylen Brown, like a poor man's Jaylen Brown, of course. I know you guys get fixated on that,
We
but
sure
remember
do.
the last time I said that.
Jonathan
Just keep
Kuminga
that in mind.
reminds me of Jaylen Brown. Coming out, very raw,
Okay,
athletic.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to trust your pre-draft scouting report, and sometimes you have to change it. For Scotty Barnes, that's one of the players that I wish
You never said remind you of Giannis?
I never. I feel like his rookie season made me higher on him than I should have been, because coming out the
Me
draft,
too, man. Me too.
I think everybody.
Yeah.
I think everybody was
coming out the draft, what Scotty is now is what I expected him to be coming out the draft.
That first year moved to.
He was
everybody.
awesome.
Yeah.
He's going to be a lot. He's going to be on ball a lot this season. I think that it'll benefit his game.
We forget that rookies are kind of catching the league by surprise because we don't know what they can do.
Like Benedict, is that one of those examples also?
Yeah, like Benedict is somebody averaged 20, but wouldn't be surprised if he drops down to like 16 next year.
If it's 16, but exactly. If it's 16, but an efficient 16, I'm more moved by that.
Need the jumper to improve. You want to go? Or?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
You like my names, guys?
Everybody except Scotty.
I understand.
AJ.
That.
I like your
I
names.
have to
Yours are
stay
good.
10
I love
toes.
AJ Griffin.
Nice.
AJ Griffin, I love too.
I'm locked in.
I got tweets about him. Real legit ones. Not no phony ones like this guy. You know?
Oh yeah, what are your real legit tweets?
I'll do the deep dive. I'll do the deep dive.
I love AJ Griffin.
AJ Griffin.
I don't got the phony ones.
This guy has tweets of everybody, man.
Hey, listen, I'll be watching a lot.
He has two types of tweets for every single player. It's the, hey, this guy's got some promise, man. I've been telling y'all about him. This guy's not a good player. I don't trust. He's got all angles, all sides. He's always ready at any moment's notice.
Nuts.
Respect this guy.
Any moments. Breakout player, listen,
Got you.
there's a player that I have two players that you mentioned on my breakouts. The first breakout player for me is obvious. It's Franz Wagner. And I think even with the Magic, like Paolo and Franz can be grouped into the breakouts. Franz is just in year 3, and I trust him to make that leap. 18-4-3 last year. Can easily be a 20-plus point per game scorer this year and increase that three-point efficiency. My second one is Tyrese Halliburton on the Pacers. He averaged 21 and 10. You can argue the breakout happened last year, but I think Tyrese has another gear he can tap into. I think he can be a 25 and 10 player, and that's why I think this year he's going to be that, and the Pacers are going to make the playoffs. Next one, I'm grouping in these rookie center bigs in the East, the Hornets and Pistons, Mark Williams and Jalen Duren.
Absolutely.
Those are my two breakout
Duren
players.
Needs to be there as well.
And then my last one is Tyus Jones on the Wizards. Averaged 10 and 6 last year. And I think with the Wizards this year, we're talking about a 16 and 8 guy. I don't think he's gonna get better drastically as a player, but the stats will get better, and that's why I have him as a breakout.
Tyus Jones.
So I looked up just Durag Riv, AJ Griffin. Now,
Nothing appears.
No. Ryan Hammer asked my draft people most underrated 2022 prospects that you think deserve more love. You said Peyton Watson, Dyson Daniels, AJ Griffin. Okay.
I like Payne Watts. That's my fucking guy.
And Dyson Daniels is good. He just needs opportunity.
That's also my dog. Here we go. Is that all that was up?
There was also a tweet that said, give me a starting 5 of 2022 prospects you most enjoy watching. Not the best, but the most fun viewing pleasure. You have Kennedy Chandler, Ochai Agbaji, AJ Griffin, Paolo Banchero, and Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler you had in here. You're him?
I do what I do.
Even though you laughed at John?
I didn't think he'd go that high. But, I do what I do. I did like watching him in college, though. All right, breakout players of the NBA Eastern Conference. I trolled. Eastern Conference. Here we go. I also have
Sky Riv's brains in the mud.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I also have Franz just because you almost killed somebody today, so that really hurt me.
Bro, are you serious, man? You gonna lie me like that?
I also have Franz, but I have Markelle Fultz on my list too. I think he's gonna break out into maybe not this all-star, but I think 16, 17 points a game, 7 to 8 assists. I think people are gonna really remember the player he definitely is now. And, of course, he's going to be an integral part of Orlando's success. He's going to be able to initiate that offense, get them in spots they want to be. And I think he's going to be big for Banchero's breakout season. I also have Franz up here for the obvious reasons I'm not going to repeat. Cade Cunningham, of course, I got him up here just because of the fact that not only is he going to have a breakout, but he needs to have a breakout. I think he's one of the few top 3 picks that we haven't seen much, and I think he needs this year 3 breakout probably more than anybody. He didn't play his year 2. Year 1 was a little muddy in the beginning, got better at the end. So this year, Detroit, you bring in Monty Williams, you brought in all this talent around him. Cade kind of has to be that guy. Another one for me, of course, is Jalen Duren to stick on Detroit. I think last year he showed his dominance as a big man. I think he showed he can be dominant on the glass, and he has some strides as a ball handler. He can shoot the ball. His form looks nice.
It's hot.
I think this year is going to be the year where he kind of ups his game more for sure.
Jalen Duren plays in game how Mitchell Robinson looks in the preseason.
For sure. Jalen's mad strong.
He's strong as hell.
Fucking
Do you remember
insane.
when we were at the Through the Wire show and we walked past him and just like, yo, this is some tall.
We were scared of shit.
It's a big man.
We were literally scared of shit. Like, we seen him walk by, we was just like, nah, I'm not even going to say nothing. He looked mad scary. Yeah. Nuts. And then I got 2 guards up here. I got 2 more guards up here. Kobe White, man. We're here. Kobe White, breakout fucking year.
No Pat Will, bro?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
no.
Why been a baby claw, man?
Listen, man, that shit's dead in the water.
He's
But
probably
Kobe,
going to start for y'all.
if he does it, I don't know. It might be if we go point guard, shooting guard, small forward, he probably starts with the 4. But if we go 2 guards, I think Kobe White, though, like last year, he had a really good year in just terms of processing the game better, making better decisions, being a good shooter. Defensively, he put more effort in. I think he has a really good chance to start this year. And if he does, you can see definitely a good uptake in his statistics and his game. Another guy for me, Andrew Nembhard. I think he can legitimately be one of the best backup guards in the NBA. He's a great playmaker. I was high on him coming in the draft. Unfortunately, he started for Indiana last year, 63 games. I kind of wanted to see him take that because you mentioned it. When Tyrese is off the court, they take a drop off. I think Nembhard coming up the bench kind of settles that. He can be that guy on offense that can initiate the offense, get the guys in spots, put guys in positions they need to be. He's a really good playmaker. And another one I got is Marjon Beauchamp. From Milwaukee. Listen, their roster is muddy as shit, and they're going to need their young players to step up. I think we can see a lot of Andre and Marjon playing games this year, and I think for him, his size, 6'7", can space the floor. And then my star breakout is Bam Adebayo. I think you can see an uptake in points per game. I think you can see an uptake in aggression this offseason. I mean, this NBA season. I think you can see him really turn into an elite two-way player. He's always been. Huh?
DPOY?
We fucking need one. I mean, it's now
That's
or never.
Anthony Davis's to lose, though.
LOL.
If he plays all 82, it's his.
Let's be 100% serious. He's not playing all 82.
Let's just wait for the Western Conference preview.
Okay. Bam, I think Bam has always hovered around that great two-way player, good two-way player. But I think he can literally assert himself this year as an elite two-way player, elite two-way big. And I'm excited to see what Bam does because this team now needs that offense more than ever. And it's Bam's time to shine.
All right, I'm actually going to give a Laker breakout. Last year it was Reeves. Obviously, we see how that hit.
Hey, this is Eastern Conference, buddy.
Oh, you're right. You know what? Thanks, bro.
Bro's going to say Max fucking Christie.
Maybe tune in. Don't be mad when he breaks out and he's like that.
He won't play.
He will play.
You have no space for him.
We need shooting and he shoots.
Bro said if he plays all 82 games.
He's nuts for that.
Let's wait for the Western Conference preview.
80's up 82. If he plays 70, I'll be fucking excited.
When he plays 77 games and he wins MVP.
Wins MVP.
That's what'll happen if he plays all 77.
You put $30 in, you probably make $1 million. Because his odds
they're probably low.
Gutter.
But he's probably a top 10 MVP candidate.
Doubt it.
Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I'll look it up right now. He's probably top 10.
I wouldn't doubt it if he is.
Who do you think has better odds to win MVP, him or Dame?
Dame. No, Milwaukee. I think Donovan Mitchell has better odds.
Donovan Mitchell has better odds than Anthony?
No way.
To win MVP? I guarantee you. Watch this.
No way.
Okay, watch this. I cooked.
All right, he's not top 10.
Who, Anthony Davis?
Anthony Davis is not top 10.
Is Mitchell over
But they
him?
have LeBron here.
Duh, it's LeBron.
Right now, they're only showing the top 10.
What's wrong with this guy? They have LeBron.
Who's the top 10?
I'm about to look right now. Hold on one sec.
I'd be shocked if Mitchell's over Anthony Davis
here.
MVP.
We're here.
Can this fucking load, for the love of God? Why am I the worst at looking up shit? I hate that it's true.
You know,
All right,
Riv-
we're here.
Cool.
All right. Number 1 is Jokic at plus 450. Number 2 is Luka at plus 500. Number 3, Giannis at 550. Joel Embiid, 650. Jason Tatum, plus 900. Kevin Durant, plus 1,300. Steph Curry is too low, in my opinion, 1,400. Shea's at plus 1,600. Devin Booker's at plus 1,800. And then LeBron's at plus 1,900.
I like the Devin Booker.
Found it.
What? Everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
AD and Donovan are actually back to back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's AD then Donovan. Fuck, I was close. AD is plus 2,900. Donovan's plus 3,400.
Why am I so bad at looking shit
You know
up?
who's after
2,900,
Donovan though?
Who?
Fox.
Darren Fox? Okay.
Plus 4,000. Jimmy's
Nice.
plus 5,000. This one, LeBron is not in the top 10.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they have Joker, Giannis, Luka, Embiid, Tatum, Kevin Durant.
Oh, dude,
Curry.
I'm an idiot. I was looking up 2023.
Oh, wow.
You're a fucking.
I typed in 2024.
This guy's an idiot.
I typed in 2024. Bro, I don't know.
Jalen Brunson plus 6,000.
What about Jalen Brown?
He's not up here. Let's be serious. Ant-Man, though, plus 6,000 also.
That's nice.
Maybe in like
The
2-3
last
years.
guy on the
Right
list.
now, $100 to make
Drew.
6,000.
Zion, plus 7,500.
Wait till the Western Conference preview.
Kawhi's the last guy on the list, plus 7,500.
Wait for the Western
Sabonis
Conference
is up here,
preview.
too.
So, you mentioned the sleeper breakout. My sleeper one is Quentin Grimes for the Knicks. He averaged 11 last year, one of the league's best defenders at the guard position. But I really do feel like Quentin Grimes got some Desmond Bane in him. Because of the role he's limited to, he's not going to average a ton of points because you have Brunson, Randall, and RJ over him. And even Emmanuel Quickly, I think, is that fourth scoring option off the bench who is ahead of Quentin Grimes. But Quentin Grimes, to me, is the perfect 3-and-D player. And I feel like this year he's going to add more to his game where I can see him averaging 15-plus a game and boost his points per game by 4. And I think that would be a nice leap for him considering the role that he's currently in.
And he did a great job as a three-point shooter last year. Going into the All-Star break, I think he was hovering around 34%, 35% from 3 to finish at almost 40% from 3. He really impressed me last season. Obviously, as a defender, we understand that he's one of the better on the perimeter, but it's just a matter of having the opportunity as a scorer if he can show that. I'm with that. QG should have a great season.
We're going to do 2 TikToks. This is a series where it's contender or pretender.
Okay.
So I'm going to name teams in the East, and you're going to tell me if they're contenders or pretenders. Then next, we're going to do tank or no tank. So teams that should tank in the East or teams that shouldn't tank in the East. So first off, contenders and pretenders. Eastern Conference contenders and pretenders. First name up, the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Damn, they're neither. Fuck.
They are neither. And this is unfortunate to them. They're not a contender to come out of the East. I don't believe that yet. So I'm going to say pretender.
Contender.
This is a pretender for me. Like you said, until I see Donovan Mitchell elevate in Cleveland, because the last 2 playoffs he hasn't elevated in the playoffs, I can't put them as contenders. They lost to the Knicks as a favorite team. Even though they made moves in Niang and Max Strus, I don't think those are needle movers, so I'm going to go pretender. The Milwaukee Bucks.
Contender, absolutely.
Easily contenders.
Just got Dame, contenders, no doubt. The 76ers.
Believe it or not, I think they're a contender. 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and that was with an injured Joel Embiid. If they're healthy, that's a contending team.
I also think they have the roster outlook of a contender. I just think if your 2 stars can show up, they can actually put a great playoff together.
I think they're a contender. You got Nick Nurse to replace Doc Rivers, and then look at the 8-9-man rotation. It's Harden, Maxey, Tobias, Tucker, Embiid, Patrick Beverly, D'Anthony Melton, Kelly Oubre, Paul Reed. Those are 9 good rotational players. They have the roster to be contenders, but Embiid and Harden have to show up in the playoffs. The Boston Celtics.
The contender as well. They could be in contention for the best team in the league. You just add Drew Holiday. You upgrade from Malcolm Brogdon to Drew Holiday. You upgrade from Rob Will, who's a great defender, but injury-prone. You can't really trust he's going to stay on the court consistently. To Kristaps Porzingis. They got significantly better, in my opinion.
Contender.
I mean, 4 all-star players, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum easily. All NBA players, Porzingis, Drew Holiday. Even if they don't make the all-star game, their all-star caliber is easily a contender. And the last name, the Miami Heat.
I think you still have to give them that respect because at any given moment, they can knock off a top team. They've shown that in the 3 of the 4 years. So I'm going to go contender because I do think they still improve their depth.
Have to respect them. 3 ECFs in the last 4 years, like Riv mentioned. This is a contending team, even if you may not be infatuated with the talent on the squad.
I'm gonna go pretender here. I don't think I don't think last year is something that is
Riv, you're
repeatable.
surprised?
It's not repeatable. They didn't get Dame. They didn't get Bradley Beal. They keep missing out on stars, and eventually they keep coming up short because they don't have the star power, and they're gonna come up short again.
This is hilarious because he put Philly as a contender.
They got a better roster than Miami.
And they come up short with stars.
True.
Miami has stars.
They don't come up short.
They don't.
Next up, tank or no tank. There's a ton of teams in the East that are teetering, hovering the line.
They are.
Eastern Conference, tank or no tank. Should these teams tank or should they not? First name up, the Atlanta Hawks.
I don't think that they should tank. I think when you have Trae Young and not even into the prime of his career and just coming off one of his best, arguably his best playoff performance against the Boston Celtics, I don't think this is a team that should be tanking.
I'm going to add a bit of a groove here. I think they should retool, not tank.
Okay. All right. They also were, under the radar, one of the better offenses in basketball last season also. And that's what Quinn Snyder not even getting a full season with them. This team definitely should not be in the tanking discussion.
I agree with Riv. I don't think they should tank. I agree with you as well. They should retool. Onyeka should start over Clint Capella. AJ Griffin should be in the starting lineup. DeJounte, I don't think was a good trade, but he played well in the playoffs. As long as you have Trae Young, you have to keep trying to build this roster around him and competing. Yep. So I'm going to say no tank. Chicago Bulls.
Oh, God. We should have been tanked.
You need a direction.
We don't. We should tank for sure. I think Zach, DeMar, Vooch, they've kind of run their course as a trio, but DeMar's contract is coming up, so hopefully they realize this is a tanking opportunity.
Yeah, DeMar is one of the better contracts in the league, and you realize he's not getting paid not nearly as much as Zach LaVine. But this team needs to at least pick a direction and go towards it, whether it's retool or tank. In my opinion, I don't know if this trio of players is able to really contend for anything.
All the moves they've made this offseason indicate no tank. They re-signed Vucevic. They signed Javon Carter. For me, this is a team that should tank. You're not going anywhere with Zach LaVine being your best player.
Oh, what the hell was that for?
You're not. It's just the truth. It's the truth of it. DeMar DeRozan had that 1 year with the Bulls where he was amazing. He's dropped off since. Year. He was great, but not like that first year.
It was that month.
The Bulls' defense does not get spoken about enough of last season.
It was just that month, that year. Black History Month. DeMar put on for the culture.
He was putting on Wilt numbers. Literally.
Yeah, it was nuts.
He was. As long as the Bulls have this roster, they will always be a middle-of-the-pack team. They should tank. They should go all into the tank. The Brooklyn Nets.
This is a retooling opportunity. I think they had a good draft for sure. They have draft picks. They have an abundance of draft picks, and they have a solid foundation to bring in a star. So I think retooling is the best thing for them to do because they always are in the business, as we've seen over the last couple of years, that they always bring in stars. They are what we think the Knicks are. They always bring in a high-caliber star. So I think they are always in the business of retooling to keep this roster good and keep this company thriving.
To me, I think the Nets should be in the position to tank because right now they're fringe already. In my opinion, I don't even have them as a play-in team as of right now. So when your number 2 scoring option is a Cameron Johnson, who I like as a player, you could just understand that there's a need for talent on this team. I'm going to say tank for the Brooklyn Nets.
The difference for me when it comes to the Nets and the Bulls is that the Bulls have old players. DeMar's 34. Vucevic, I believe, is 32. Zach LaVine's 28. On the Nets, the 2 best players are Mikal and Cam Johnson, but they're 27. Nick Claxton's their 3rd best player, and he's, 22, 23 years old. They're a team that if they pile up assets, they can go after a star, and they can be a real competitive team. So I think what they're doing now, just staying afloat, is good. You try to get stars with KD and Kyrie. It didn't work. Just be competitive, have an attractive situation, so the next time it comes up, you can get one of those stars. The Toronto Raptors.
Tank, for the love of God.
Yeah, this core, unfortunately, isn't winning a thing. They need a new direction, and that should be tanking.
They got a new coach. Pascal's on the last year of his deal. He wants Supermax. The Raptors shouldn't give it to him. This is easily a team that should tank in the East. I was going to name other teams, but I was like, you know what? I don't think it's necessary.
Most of the young teams aren't in the tanking business. They're kind of like trying to like.
The only other team is the Knicks.
And absolutely not.
I would just say retool.
Honestly, I think the Knicks are on a
trade Randall. That's
upward trend.
They are. We got a young team.
Brunson gives me hope if I'm a Knicks fan.
I would never have hope until they remove that guy at the 4.
Okay.
That's it. He has to go.
But I feel like with Brunson at being so great
Brunson
offensively, it should relieve pressure off Randall that I don't need to be the guy.
Shot. Like no matter what happens, he's going to take terrible shots.
Isn't it so crazy, the perception of Brunson last year compared to this year walking into the season?
That's what's amazing about
what a year can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
30 after January, 31 against the Heat. Jalen Brunson is him, man.
It's insane how Jimmy continues to do what he does and you still hate.
What am I hitting it? You really think they can come out the East?
They have a chance.
Did you think they could come out of the East last year?
No,
of course he did.
Okay, so when they did it, right? You didn't believe it.
Did you think they could come out
the
the East in a bubble? Probably not.
No. You didn't have them beating Milwaukee when he's coming. Was that the?
Well, let's be serious. No, I can answer.
I didn't believe in Milwaukee. No, I actually had the Heat beating Milwaukee in that.
You probably believed in Boston or not Philly, Boston or Toronto.
It was Boston, Toronto, because Boston and Toronto were the 2 and 3. Milwaukee was the 1, right? Am I wrong?
Yes.
And then Miami was 4.
No, Milwaukee might have been. No, yeah, you're right.
Because that was Giannis' MVP season.
Pretty much, you never believed in Miami.
I had the Heat beating the Bucks in the bubble though. Our podcast goes that far back. Anybody could search it up.
I think you
Giannis is
had
also
Boston
injured.
beating them though.
I probably did.
I know.
Yeah, I probably
Just like you
did.
always have Boston beating
You
them.
probably had Boston beating them too.
I actually did not.
Nah,
Maybe I did.
I'm gonna go far back and I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up.
after-
I know I
after
had
the podcast.
Heat last year.
I know that's when you were hating on the Raptors.
Definitely had them losing every round
Yeah,
they
yeah.
played.
You were hating on the Raptors that year.
Was
so,
it hate or was
I
just
don't know.
telling the truth about them?
They went to 7
They were
against
good.
Celtics.
They couldn't generate offense efficiently.
They couldn't.
I
They
guess.
were mad at me for saying that. And I said they couldn't go far with Pascal as their number one.
Well, they were a game away from going to ECF.
Oh, good God. Greatness. Oh,
Is that wrong?
I mean, it's cool.
They were a really good team.
They were solid.
Yeah. Stop hating.
I'm not hating. The truth came out. Look at them now.
The thing is that I think you guys are saying the Heat can make it to the finals because
They did it this
they
past season when
just
they
did
shouldn't
it.
have. Correct.
But I mean, it's no different than if we're just going from a season basis. When the Suns made the finals, and then walking into the next season, they had Suns.
Miami
as
didn't
pretenders.
play 3 hurt
Then
teams.
wait, I disagree with that though. The Suns,
Giannis was hurt,
but the Suns came
Oh,
off.
yeah.
They came
He
off
played,
the
though.
finals appearance, and they were the
and
number
Tatum
one
got
seed in
hurt
the
game 7.
West.
So you're comparing that to Kawhi not playing a single game in the series, Jamal Murray not playing a single game, and then AD missing 3 to 4 games? AD's comparable to the Giannis injury. That's fine. But Kawhi missed the series. Tatum didn't miss the series.
That
Jalen
game 7
Brunson
was
played.
really important, though.
Yeah, Kawhi's game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were really important. Kawhi wasn't there
I'm
for
just
any
saying,
of
I
it.
think that even if a team makes the finals, if they don't make the requisite moves to get back there, they're not automatic contenders.
But again, like I just said, the Suns came off the finals appearance and were the best team in basketball in the regular season.
they were. But a lot of people had them with a raised eyebrow, though.
I think that was only after the Pelicans series, though, where they looked human.
I don't know. I had the Mavericks beating them in that series.
I don't know. I felt pretty damn confident about the Suns.
I don't know. I just think
if you don't, the difference with the Heat is that they were an 8th seed. They didn't make the requisite moves to get better. They lost 2 rotational players. To me, they just don't stack up with the top teams in the East. Like,
but they never do.
they don't have the talent of the Celtics, the Bucks, or the Sixers. The Bucks getting Dame was a huge upgrade. The Heat were able to beat the Bucks in 2 of the games that they played them in the playoffs off of clutch moments from Jimmy Butler. I don't think that happens if Dame is there.
Clutch,
for the
no,
Bucks.
yeah, but also the Bucks choked.
Oh,
a few of
listen,
those
I'm
games.
The Bucks did choke.
definitely not taking the Heat over the Bucks or the Celtics.
Yeah,
and,
like-
and with the Celtics, you got 2 All-Stars. The
Does Drew
Sixers,
Holiday really like if you have the Boston, because we all love Drew, but if you have Boston and you have the Heat, does Drew Holiday really change the deficiency of how Miami beats Boston? He doesn't.
I think it does.
What does he change?
At least now
He's a
you
turnover
have,
machine point guard. He's inefficient in the playoffs.
And Jimmy already
Miami
killed
feeds off
Drew.
Boston's turnovers.
but
a
now
lot.
you have 4 players that can guard Jimmy Butler.
Who can guard Jimmy Butler?
It's
He
Tatum,
just
Tatum,
proved
Drew.
Drew. He just proved Drew can't.
He's right.
And who's the
Drew-
other 4?
Drew,
Derek White.
Jimmy got the better of Drew in that series, but I still think that Drew will guard him great if they play again.
I don't feel. Do you feel confident?
I feel confident.
I don't.
You can't feel you. That's
I
not
don't.
even.
He
that's
put
not
up.
even make
He put up
sense.
historic numbers.
He was. Listen, Jimmy Butler was phenomenal against anybody.
Wait, who's the 4th guy though?
That's what I'm wondering. Also,
Derek White?
Ah, come on, buddy.
He needs help, but still.
Yeah.
No, listen. And the Sixers, they're to me like borderline. It's just the talent. They have more talent than the Heat. And I think if they were to meet in the playoffs, if Embiid is healthy, Embiid should get the better of that Bam matchup.
Yeah, I just think like against Miami, nobody's gonna outcoach Spo. Nobody's gonna defensively. Nobody's gonna play better defense than them. It's just the offense, which I understand. Boston has hella offense, but Miami is probably the one team in the East that scares Boston more than any other team.
So let me ask you something. If the Miami Heat lose, let's say they face the Cavaliers in the playoffs, would you be shocked if the Cavs beat them and knock them off in the playoffs? Given the current roster construction, so just under the assumption the Heat don't make like a buyout move or a trade for somebody.
I would, because I don't think the Cavs match up with Miami like that.
I personally wouldn't be that surprised.
That's
I
because
wouldn't.
you're looking at it from just straight talent.
I'm looking at it just from the matchup
I was gonna
perspective.
say.
of it.
I mean, did the Cavs? I mean, I know you picked the Knicks over the Cavs. That's fair. But were you expecting a dominating performance from the Knicks over the Cavaliers?
no.
They looked not anywhere near what we all expected them to look like. To make a statement like that against a team that just made it to the finals, that took out the number 1 seed, that took out the number 2 seed. That's tough for me to sit with.
I think the run, you can appreciate the run for what it was.
But Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, amazing. Bam Adebayo continues to get better. Eric
With
Spoelstra,
Mobley and Jared Allen in that front court.
But Mobley and Jared Allen,
Neither of them
I'm being
are world
rude.
beaters.
They looked regular in that series.
That's because
Mitchell Robinson outplayed both of them.
our offense isn't reliant on front court players. Like Jalen Brunson dominated that series.
Neither is
RJ
Cleveland,
had
though.
some good games.
Neither is Cleveland.
You mean Miami?
No, I'm saying like Cleveland isn't reliant on front court offense.
I know.
At
That's
all.
what I'm saying. But like with the Heat and Bam Adebayo, he's a major part of that offense.
100%.
So I think if Mobley and Allen neutralize him, Jimmy Butler's going to get his way. But I think Darius Garland gets his way in that series. Jimmy Butler, does he stick Mitchell? Maybe so.
Probably.
And I'm not counting on Mitchell to have this amazing series, but I think Garland will show up. I think that to me is an even matchup series.
I will say I'm worried about
that's the tier I have the Heat in.
I'm worried about the backcourt play of the Miami Heat. No Gabe. Tyler Hero does come back. Kyle Lowry, as of right now, is
I think Jaime can
slotted
fill
to-
in the role Screws.
You think Jaime's going to play immediately and get
Yes.
active minutes? Okay.
And I think he can be better because he's bigger. He's a better defender. You know, he's a better decision maker than Screws. Screws was just a shooter, and respect to Screws, he's a good player. I just think Miami I think matches up with Boston. I think they match up. I don't think they match up with the Bucks. You know, but then we just because now you bring in Dame, who, like you said, completely changes that offense. But I think Philly matches up with the Bucks. Like I think in terms of match, the East is matchup dependent. Like the Philly and the Bucks could be a nasty ass series. Like Philly matches up comfortably with the Bucks.
Yeah.
With Miami, they just match up so well with Boston and what they want to do. I just can't confidently say, oh, Boston's clear right going to beat them. You know, I'll have to think about it, see how it goes. Cleveland, for me, I just got to see it. You know, I just got to see how because even then, their front court could cause trouble for Bam, but unless you're a high caliber center, like an elite center, Bam has no issue with being the most dominant big down low in terms of defense. You know, even against Giannis was dominant number wise, but when fourth quarters came up, Bam was on him. Bam did a good job of neutralizing him, making him uncomfortable. And I think he can do the same thing to Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. In terms of the perimeter players for Cleveland, it's hard for them to find a mismatch on that defense to where Spo doesn't have it counted for, you know, like in a pick and roll.
For sure.
So it's just maybe my trust is just in Spo and figuring it out. And then Bam and Jimmy, they've been the consistent two guys. But of course, we'll have to see it towards the end of the year. But I do think you still got to keep Miami in that conversation because schematically, they're one of the best teams in the East. Defensively, you know, that zone is a pretty dangerous zone for them. And Cleveland doesn't even have a big man that can really destroy that zone.
No.
So, you know, it's tough. But I get what you're saying. You know, like they haven't made any groundbreaking any real moves in the offseason. So it's tough. And we wanted them to make a move. But I'll still keep them in the contender until now.
What's your statement? Your statement sound like I wouldn't be surprised if Miami does these things because I've seen them do it already. But my contenders is kind of, am I counting on it?
Right.
Like, so am I counting on them to do it? Right now, it's a hard no
get it.
for me.
That's interesting, though. I don't mean this to go into anything combative. Last season, you felt very comfortable saying that the West had 6 contenders at one point in time, right?
Yes.
So to not have the same leniency with the team that just made it to the finals, even though the talent on paper wasn't overwhelming, to not at least give them that respect is questionable.
The West, to me, though, is just, it's wild. And there were so many great teams. Like,
To me, there's around the same number of contenders in the West and the East this season.
this year, I agree with you. Last year, going into the season, no. I think that last year, going into the season, the West was a crapshoot.
See, the thing is, I don't disagree with that.
Where like the Nuggets, yes. The Lakers, they always had the injury problems, right? But if they were healthy, they're contenders. The Warriors with Steph, contenders.
The Suns.
The Suns, you know, as long as they stood healthy, they weren't healthy, but they were contenders too if things went right. And even with Kevin Durant, the depth just shot them in the foot. And then a team like
At one point, you had the Mavs in there.
I don't think they had the Mavs in the contenders.
Early on with the 6 teams.
I had the Timberwolves in the contenders. The Timberwolves, and they were just never healthy.
The Mavs just came off the the Western Conference Finals. I'm
I think
almost
you did have
positive you
Dallas
had the
in
Mavs in there.
I remember the 6 though.
Yeah, I don't know
I know
if
you
I
for sure
had
didn't
them.
have Memphis, so
I
might have not.
that was the and then the Kings.
I might have not had. I didn't have
You
the
didn't
Kings
have
as
the Kings.
contenders. No
You didn't
way.
have the Kings.
The Clippers contenders. Oh yeah. Also,
yes.
Lakers, Warriors, Clippers, Nuggets. The Timberwolves are the 5.
Did you
I
have
think
the
I
Lakers
think
as
it was
contenders?
Dallas. No, I don't think you had the Lakers.
You didn't have the Lakers.
You didn't
'cause
have the
you-
Lakers.
Oh no,
I'm telling
yeah.
you,
Not
might
at
have had the
beginning, not at the
Kings.
beginning. No, he didn't have the
No, I
Kings.
didn't have the
know
Kings.
he
Not
didn't.
before the season started. I'm saying like 2 months into.
No, he still didn't
Do you
have him
remember
as-
when we
No,
had
no,
that sit down and you were having an aneurysm over him saying there's
They could
around
beat the Warriors.
Was it the
No,
Pelicans?
I never had the Kings as contenders. I had the Pelicans as contenders.
Yes.
There it was.
And them to me, I mean, still, if things
I'm not
go
upset
right,
with you.
yeah, like
But that's the same thing with Miami. The Pelicans are how much do you? What was the saying you said? How much
Do you trust?
Do you trust them to do it with the Pels? If you give them that leeway, you got to give Miami the same leeway.
the difference is though that going into last season in the Western Conference, there wasn't a true dominant team in the West. Like going into this year, we know that whoever's in the West has to match up with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cannot match up with Denver, you're not a true contender and you cannot beat them. So I'm kind of going into this season with that same mindset with the East, where like the Bucks and the Sixers, I'm looking at those teams, and the Cavaliers too. I'll group them in here too. Is like, do I think any of them can beat the Celtics and the Bucks in a 7-game series? And right now, I don't think I cannot say yes to that. So to me, like if you cannot beat those teams, then I don't view you as a contender. Where last year, the West, I'm like, it's very matchup dependent. Like the Kings lost to the Warriors, but let's say if the Kings face the Grizzlies the first round, I think that's a series that could go the Kings' way. If the Lakers matched up with the Warriors first round, the Warriors don't make it past the first round, the Lakers win. You know, I thought just the Western Conference was very matchup dependent. Same thing with the Timberwolves. Like the Timberwolves faced the Nuggets in the first round, but I thought if they faced the Grizzlies in the first round, that's a series, given with the Grizzlies' injuries, they could have capitalized on, especially since they were getting healthy. I just feel like the West is super matchup dependent, and there's so many great teams to like the point that there are playoff teams that will miss the playoffs in the West, where in the East, like really after the first 6 teams, we're looking at it and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the West is going to be very reliant on health and all these other things. The Kings were the 3rd seed last year, and I'd be shocked if any of you guys had the Kings as a top 4 seed going into this year.
I don't. Just a spoiler alert. No.
So that's the difference with the West to me.
I get that.
Eastern Conference standings predictions. Riv, you can go first.
You see, my computer isn't open.
I'll go first.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
That's okay.
it
I'll go
wasn't
first. Number 1 seed, Milwaukee Bucks. I think they have been a model consistency in the regular season. Last season, finished up top the Eastern Conference, finished as one of the hottest teams in basketball, too. Now you add Damian Lillard. Of course, we already anticipate this to be one of the most exciting teams to watch in basketball. Number 2, Boston Celtics. Adding Drew Holiday, adding Kristaps Porzingis to an already amazing team. Last season, I fully anticipated them being the top seed in the Eastern Conference, but Milwaukee just proved to be that much better. But still, finishing 1 and 2, these should be your top 2 teams in the conference. Number 3, this is so long as James Harden's on the team, they will be the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. I believe that this team is being underrated solely for situation purposes and what's going on in the media between James Harden and Philadelphia. But right now, he's reported he's practicing with the guys. He's in shape. This team, with all that we already spoke about ad nauseum with it, this team is talented and has a lot of depth at the rotation. Number 4, Cleveland Cavaliers. This team got better from last season, where they improved in their strong need, and that's players on the wing. You add Strus, you add twin Georges Niang. Riv, do you still believe in Isaac Okoro? I didn't hear you talk about him in your breakout players, bro.
I was trolling, man.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting and heartbreaking to hear, actually. Your spirit's been broken, and I pray for you, brother.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Cavaliers should be better. Another year with Donovan Mitchell, another year of Evan Mobley, another year of Darius Garland. This is a talented roster. We already know that they're going to be great, have them finishing 4. 5, I'm paying homage to the Miami Heat here. I don't have them as a regular season team. But like Riv mentioned earlier in the show, I don't think they can go the route that they took last year, where they were a playing team. They had to play 2 play-in games. They had to play the top seed, number 1, Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. They had to go and play against the Knicks, which ended up being the easier of the 3 series for them. Well, I should say the second easy, because they absolutely handled Milwaukee. and then going up against Boston Celtics and going up 3-0 and then going back down to getting the series tied 3-3. They just had a very tough road. I think they need to be better in the regular season to not put themselves in that position. Number 6, New York Knicks. Now, this one was tough because I like the Knicks roster, and it really is centered around Jalen Brunson and the energy that he brings to the New York Knicks. This roster is talented. It's coming in with the same starting 5 of last season with Jalen Brunson, QG, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. But adding a Dante DiVincenzo to the rotation as well, of Josh Hart and him playing great towards the end of the season once he was acquired at the trade deadline. This Knicks roster is very impressive, and I have them as a top 6 just to give them a confidence boost of I don't see them falling off tremendously. I do think that this is a playoff lock in the New York Knicks. Number 7, Atlanta Hawks. Adding Kobe Buffkin in the draft, adding Patty Mills, that's adding some shooting to an offense that was already great last season. Quinn Snyder now gets a full season coaching the Hawks. AJ Griffin, like I said, is one of my breakout players. I'm expecting him to have a more prominent role. And really, it's centered around how great Trae Young can continue to lead a top offense. I think that he's going to be more than able to do so. Number 8, this is where I slide in Indiana. Last season, Joel has mentioned it a ton in his belief in Reese, and it's understandable and validated. He's one of the best passers in the game. He was number 1 in assists last season.
He led.
Number 2, or was it James Harden?
Number 1 was Tyrese assists per game. It was
got it.
1.
All right.
Yeah.
So Tyrese Halliburton was phenomenal last season, and when he got hurt, obviously it changed the landscape of Indiana's season, where they were in the playoff picture when Tyrese was playing. He got hurt and did come back towards the end of the season. They just weren't able to recover. But adding Bruce Brown, adding Obi Toppin, they made moves to be better than they were last season. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the Buddy Hield situation. But if he's on this team should be a play-in lock.
It was Harden, number 1.
It was Harden. I thought so.
10.7.
Got it. Number 9, you said I disrespected them. I'm paying them respect. I do think that they are a play-in team. I have the Chicago Bulls here finishing in the 9th spot. But my notes aren't kind to them. It's ... What the fuck are they doing? And again, it's because I want them to have direction. They're a team in no man's land. I love Levine. I like DeMar. It's unfortunate what's happened with Lonzo. Caruso is one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. Adding Javon to add to that perimeter defense was also one of the more under the radar moves, of course. But they're just simply not where you would want them to be. The trio of Levine, DeMar, and Vooch the ceiling's only so high, and they fell off last season. I think they're going to be around the same that they were the previous season. The defense, maybe it won't be as good, but that's the bright spot that I'm looking towards. Number 10, I'm putting my confidence in the Hornets, and I know that I've been a huge Magic advocate. I do love the talent on the Magic, but we've seen when the Hornets are healthy, with Miles Bridges and LaMelo, they were able to lock in to the 10th spot 2 seasons in a row. LaMelo's rookie season and his sophomore year. Miles Bridges is back. 2nd season of Mark Williams. We understand how great of a presence he is on the defensive side of the ball. Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward. Now you draft Brandon Miller. Hopefully he's a good part and has himself a strong rookie campaign. But it begins with LaMelo Ball and whether he's on the court or not. When he's healthy, when he's on the court, he is one of the premier players, one of the more premier young players in the league. He continues to shoot the 3-ball well. I already mentioned it already. 11 attempts, shot 40% from 3. It's just a matter of evolving, getting to the basket. That's one of your guys' critiques, and it's fair. He just needs to find different ways of scoring the basketball to make the game easier on him. He's great in transition. He's a great passer. He's going to make sure that this offense is great. I'm just interested to see how the defensive side of the ball is going to perform, but I think that it'll play at a pretty solid level. Number 11, this is where I have the Orlando Magic just missing out on the play-in, adding Jett Howard, Anthony Black in the draft. Of course, you add Joe Ingles. You do add some shooting, but I just think this team's a year away. They need another year of Banchero. Year 3 will be his year. Listen, Banchero can have a great season this year. Franz, we all have him as a breakout candidate this year, averaging almost 19 points per game last season. We do believe that he can crack into that 20 to 24 points per game range. He's a talented guy. I just think this team's too young, and I think they're a year away from really solidifying themselves as a play-in playoff team. Number 12, and this is mostly due to the question mark that is the Toronto Raptors. You don't know who's going to be on the team by year's end or by the trade deadline. Is Pascal Siakam going to be with the team? Is Gary Trent going to be with the team? OG Anunoby has been consistently in trade rumors as well. The one player that will be on the team will be a Scotty Barnes. Again, I think he will have a solid season because we see his usage go up. But there's too many question marks surrounding this team. First-year head coach, you don't understand or you don't know, again, the consistency or the continuity that will be of this team. So I have them sliding at 12 just out of respect, because if this team is still put together with the same kind of guys, respect's still not even that great. They're not a play-in team. Their ceiling's limited, and it's been shown over the last couple of seasons. Number 13, the Brooklyn Nets. We spoke about it a lot. Don't trust the overall talent of the squad. They have a lot of good players, very few great players. The only great player you look at is a Mikal Bridges, and I will respect Nick Claxton as a great player because he is fringe elite. If you called him elite defensively, I wouldn't knock you at all. He was amazing last season, but they just don't have the overall talent to stack up with the other guys. And rounding it out, 14, I have the Pistons. I don't think that they're ready yet. I'm excited to see Cade's return. Definitely excited to see All-Stars rookie campaign, Jalen Duren. But again, this team's too young. Don't think they're ready. And last place in contention for the number 1 overall pick, the Washington Wizards.
I'm going to just rattle off my list. I ain't
Go.
going to do all that talking. You did great, though.
We do a podcast.
No,
we talk.
I'm not being.
Appreciate it.
You did amazing.
Thanks, man.
I just don't feel like it.
So how you can break it down, Riv? Just go from playoff locks, play-in, lottery.
I was just going to go 1 to 15.
That's the tier. We did the tiers already. Just go 1 to 15. Go.
Okay, yeah. So number 1, I got Boston. Obviously, they got Drew. Number 2, I got Milwaukee. I think Cleveland would slot in at 3. And I think I think Philly at 4, Miami at 5. I think the Knicks coming at 6. This is my hot one. Chicago at 7, baby.
See, I told you, man.
Yeah, I got Chicago.
Oh, no, you said 6 I had an issue with.
Yeah,
Got it.
Chicago at 7. Atlanta, I got them at 8. Indiana, I got at 9. Orlando, for me,
Tough.
jumps at 10.
I respect that.
Charlotte is right there at 11. I got Toronto at 12. 13
we're
is
on the
Brooklyn.
same wavelength.
Pretty much. 13 is Brooklyn. 14, sadly, is Detroit. And then 15 is my favorite team,
I'm
the
interested
Wizards.
to hear Joel's.
These are the standings predictions, so this is not an indication of how I think these teams will perform in the playoffs, just the regular season.
Correct.
Number 1 seed, I got the Celtics. Number 2 seed, I got the Cavaliers. Number 3, I got the Bucks. I think the Bucks are an older team. They're going to rest more in the regular season. They won't fall below the top 3 seeds, but I don't think they're going to go as hard in the regular season to secure a top seed.
I like the Cavs at 2, honestly.
Number 4, I got the Sixers. Number 5, I got the Heat. Number 6, I got the Knicks. Number 7, I have the Pacers. Number 8, the Hawks. Number 9, the Bulls. Number 10, the Nets. Then the teams outside the play-in lottery. 11, the Magic. 12, Hornets, but I think that's very interchangeable. 13, Raptors. 14, Pistons. And 15, Wizards.
I like that a lot. I had a feeling Pacers would be on the higher side of the play-in. That made sense. Cavaliers at 2 makes sense because they have a lot of talent. They did get better in the wing position. The fact that Isaac Okoro now becomes their 4th string, 3rd string wing.
I think they got better spacing-wise, but defensively it's still an issue.
But defensively, they still were the number 1 defensive team in the league last season.
They're just a team that
they have the
they're going to
personnel.
play. Like with the Celtics, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, those are question marks in terms of if they're going to play a whole season. Mostly Porzingis. Tatum, Jaylen Brown,
Lock it.
not even in their
Agreed.
prime yet. They're super young. They're going to play almost every game. The Cavaliers, they're going to play almost every game. With the Bucks, is Middleton, Lopez, Giannis, Dame. Are they going to all play every game? I don't think so, and that's where the Sixers, to me, if the Sixers really go all out and Harden's bought in, they could easily be a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. And the Knicks are a regular season team. I think they're going to play hard. They're going to play every single game. They have young players. The Heat, I don't feel great about being in the top 5 just because they are just an injury away to their stars to being a lottery team. Like, really, like Adebayo or Jimmy, if they're out for 10 games, they can go like 3-7.
They almost won. I mean, they were a 44-win team last season. They were the 7th seed, did lose to the Hawks, which was pretty shocking. But I don't hate the idea that they could be a 5th seed when the 5th seed last season won 47 games.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing crazy.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they can get by that total and get to the 5th seed.
Yeah, the Pacers at 6.
7.
7.
That's good.
I was
like that.
debating them between 7 and 6, but I think the Knicks have more talent.
I like that.
But the Pacers, I think they should make the playoffs.
I think they're a playing lock for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that. Sorry. I do believe that firmly. They're a playing lock for sure.
The Hawks at 8 you had, Riv?
Yeah.
Would you have the Hawks at 8 as
I have them
well?
at 8,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine.
I think they're a better team than the Bulls.
I think so too.
I don't hate it. Where do you have the Bulls?
At 9.
So, yeah. We all have them in 7, 8, 9 is the same for all of us.
You know what, bro? I
So-
didn't lock in. Who's 10?
The Nets.
You do have the Nets, man.
Yeah.
I love that we all have
7, 8, 9,
the
all
Hornets,
of us are pretty much the same.
No, 1 through 9 were locked. I love that the 10 spot
Charlotte,
Hornets,
Nets,
Magic.
Hornets.
I love
They
that.
were here. They were here.
Drew,
Something new.
if you want to rattle off your list for the TikTok,
Okay,
you could do it.
Sounds good.
Thank God.
All right, number 1, I do have the Milwaukee Bucks. Number 2, the Boston Celtics. Number 3, Philadelphia. Number 4, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 5, Miami Heat. Number 6, New York Knicks. Number 7, the Atlanta Hawks. Number 8, the Pacers. Number 9, the Bulls. 10, I do have Charlotte getting back into the play-in picture. Number 11, Orlando Magic, just a year away. Number 12, I have Toronto. 13, I have the Nets. And 14, Pistons. 15, Wizards.
Now, next week, Western Conference preview show.
We're here. We're
I
here.
like
And
this.
Basketball season's
I
back.
wore this jersey on purpose. Pay homage to my GOAT, the GOAT. Western Conference preview, we locked
I like
in.
that we have 7, 8, 9. We all have the same teams, different order. You have the Pacers finish at 7. You have Hawks, I have Bulls.
Yep.
And I like how we have something different at 10.
That is pretty
I
cool.
do really like that. Something different. So one of us can only be right.
Cavs at 2.
Well, I have them at 3.
You could, true. I have them at 4. Pretty interesting.
I like that.
Right?
Who you have at 1?
Milwaukee.
Celtics.
Celtics. All right,
I get the
like
Celtics.
something
I was
different.
really debating between it, but I think Milwaukee finishing first last season when I don't think that they were a better team than the Celtics impressed me
Giannis is going to give him 40 wins. So,
easily.
yeah. I give
And
you.
Dame is
Yeah.
Dame and Giannis is going to be
First round
the
merchants.
most fun duo to watch in basketball next season. And that's saying something, as you know, I love LeBron and AD
Just behind Şengün and Jalen Green.
and the show.
Or SGA.
You're not a
J-Dub.
Şengün fan, huh? You're not a Şengün fan.
That was nuts to say. Like,
That's my breakout candidate. Western
you didn't even
Conference,
say
baby.
him. Oh, you're in the East. That's why.
Şengün. You know, he's that man. And Jalen Green.
Chet
don't sleep.
Holmgren. Is that who you said?
I didn't say anything. I
You
said
said SGA and who?
J-Dub. Respect.
Real.
Respect
Real.
him.
J-Dub is awesome. He's a breakout guy. For sure.
You know, his birthday is the same week as mine.
Really?
We're here.
That's lit.
It's all the
So
vibes.
now, before we end off the show, we're
guys have
going to
similar
do some Mojo props.
Is that who you model it after?
No, I've modeled this hair before he's in the league.
You know what I'm talking about, right? When you
Yeah.
don't have your hair in the braids.
Yeah, you talk about Jalen, not J-Dub. You talk about Jalen.
No, I'm talking about J-Dub.
Oh, well, I had this hair before he was in the league.
Got it.
So we're in love with Mojo Fantasy. It's a crazy new app that turns sportsbook odds and selections into fantasy contests. Here's how it works. There are thousands of NFL and MLB player props. You build a portfolio, and the better your portfolio performs, the more cash you win. Pick as many props as you want and try to beat the crowd. It's a whole new way to play fantasy. The props act like stocks, so you can buy and sell live all game long. It's the only fantasy app that lets you make moves after the game starts. So you're not stuck with the bad pick. You can cash in on a hot start or just hang on or let them ride. That's it. Make picks, make moves, make money. Check it out on the Apple App Store. They're coming to more states and adding more sports soon. We have 3 games here that we'll be reading off props on, and I'm going to give you the line. You just say over, under. Jaguars at Bills, London, 9:30 a.m. game. Trevor Lawrence, 248.5 passing yards.
So there's been a lot of conversation about this defensive line of the Buffalo Bills and how it's been pretty bruised and battered.
Vaughn might play.
Vaughn might play. He is questionable.
Greg
But I
is
believe
out.
Gregory Rousseau is out. He should hit the over on this one. The offense has struggled. This isn't a great matchup for the Bills, but for the Jaguars, but with the injuries, he should have a good day.
The secondary has been performing well for the Bills this year. I think Jordan, he's scheduled to play. Benford's playing, so I think that's good.
Of course, Trey White out for the
Trey
season.
White is unfortunately out. So I think the first game, no Trey White, they'll adjust. So I would probably go to over on this one. As long as their receivers can catch the ball this game, they should be fine.
I think this is turned into a battle between Lawrence and Allen. I'm going to go the over on this prop as well. He also has another prop. So the Jaguars props are Lawrence 248.5 passing yards, 1.5 passing touchdowns, Travis Etienne, 66.5 rushing yards, and Ridley's at 57.5 receiving yards, and so is Christian Kirk.
I just can't trust Ridley yet. It's just one I don't feel comfortable with just because of the inconsistency that he's shown so far in the season. Christian Kirk has been pretty consistent with this team. Just the volume that he sees outside of week 1. If I had to choose one more...
Say the lines again, please.
Trevor Lawrence, 1.5. Travis Etienne, what was it?
65.5.
65.5.
Rushing.
Yeah. And Ridley and Kirk are both at 57.5.
You know, Ridley's fan base was so loud after week 1. They haven't spoken since.
For me, I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence, 1.5 passing touchdowns, the over on that. Josh Allen is also 1.5 passing touchdowns. That's his line.
That's easy.
I'm going Lawrence and Allen. Both have 2 touchdowns in this game. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I think I would play it safe with you. So I'd go Lawrence, Josh, both over 1.5 passing. I think those are the safe bets for sure.
And Stephon Diggs is at 87.5 receiving yards.
To be honest with you, that should be an over as well.
Listen, man,
What's Gabe Davis? They have Gabe's line?
42.5.
I might go Gabe.
Just because Jags secondary is not good.
I'm going to take Gabe over. I think Gabe has a big one today. Tomorrow, pardon me. I think he has a big two catches, 95 yards and some shit like that. Like Gabe he's due for one of those, so I'll go Gabe.
Is big play, it's big game Gabe. That's what they call him.
It's a big game, London.
The 3 props I'm going with, Lawrence and Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and I'm going Stephon Diggs, 87.5 receiving yards over.
I'm going to go Trevor's over on yards. I'm going to go Josh's over on touchdowns. And yet, Stephon Diggs over on yards seems like a lock also. He's been unbelievable so far this season.
I'll go Trevor's over on passing touchdowns. Same with Josh Allen over on passing touchdowns. And I'll go Gabe Davis yards over.
Next game, Chiefs at Vikings. These are the lines for the Chiefs, and I'll read off the ones for the Vikings.
Please just give me the Jettis line.
Mahomes, 291.5 passing yards, 2.5 passing touchdowns. Kelsey, 80.5 receiving yards. Rashee Rice, 35.5. MVS, 25.5. Then for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins, 298.5 passing yards, 2.5 passing touchdowns, and Jefferson's receiving line is at 107.5. Not 70.
I almost threw up.
Jefferson's at 107.5 receiving yards.
Do you have Madison's rushing line?
It's at like 50.
Do they have Jet as TD?
Nope.
I say that because Madison going up against this Chiefs run defense that has been elite to start this season. I don't love the matchup for him.
56.5 rushing yards.
I'm going to go under on Madison. I think Mahomes is due for a blow-up game. I don't count the Bears because the Bears, even though they did just have a good performance against Washington,
defensively,
their defense is not great. I don't hold that one to much regard when you're the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that he's due, and I think against this Minnesota secondary, he has himself a baller game.
I'll go Jetta's yards over. I like Rashee Rice's yards over. And I'm going to go Travis Kelce's yards over. I think this would be a high-powered offensive game. I think Vikings can put up points with damn near anybody in the league. I think the Chiefs also due for a bounce-back game. And the Vikings are going to have to score because their defense is going to allow a lot of points. So those are my 3.
Kirk Cousins has been a 300-yard machine this season.
He has.
I'm going to go the under on his passing yards, though. I think the Chiefs' defense is great. Zach Wilson had a blow-up game against them. But I think they contain this Vikings offense, so I'm going under on Kirk's passing yards. I'm going to go over on MVS's receiving yards, 25.5. That's 2 receptions for him. I think he'll get that. And then the last prop I'm going to go with, it's really difficult because these are some interesting lines. I'm going to also tell you Alexander Madison under his rushing yards prop, 56.5, I believe.
For sure. Chiefs defense really has done a great job. They allowed one big run, and that was to Breece Hall. Other than that, they've really been pretty clamps the entire season.
And the last game we're going to talk about, the Jets at Broncos.
Oh, my Lord.
To rattle off the Jets line, this is a rivalry game. This has been brewing since the offseason.
It's personal.
Jets lines, Zach, 207.5 passing yards, 1.5 passing touchdowns, Breece Hall, 61.5 rushing yards, and Garrett, 60.5 receiving yards. Are there any that you're taking from here?
The Broncos' rush defense right now is 32nd in the league. It's horrendous. Breece Hall should hit his over. There's no longer handcuffs on his snap count. They're finally saying that he's full go, ready to go. Breece Hall should have an unbelievable game. I'm staying away from Zach. With all due respect, our defense is terrible.
I understand it.
But you cannot feel confident in Zach, especially putting money on him to be successful. Russell over 227. Now, here's the issue. The Jets' defense has been fucking phenomenal against quarterbacks. The only efficient quarterback was Dak Prescott. But other than that, Mahomes got limited. Josh Allen was horrendous. Both of the two, honestly, did not play their best game by any means. And then Mac Jones, who ended up winning the game, but he didn't do anything special. It was really that one big play that resulted in a touchdown. I want Russ to be successful, but it's another line that I don't feel great just because your defense has been so good.
I'll take the Brees line pretty easily.
The Brees line is like
this
my
Denver
prop
team
of the
is
day.
horrible.
Come
They're
on,
not good.
bro. Come on.
I'm sorry. This Denver defense is horrible.
Thank you.
This team is horrible.
Fuck you.
They're not good, bro. They're not a good team. This is a hilarious rivalry. I remember in the summer you guys was hyping up this matchup, and now look at us here. This is hilarious.
Still a hyped up matchup.
Yeah, you guys suck. You guys are not good.
Screw you. Not everyone can root for the
I'm
Eagles and the
going. I'm
Bills.
going Jets. I'm going Jets across the
I'm
board.
accepting you. Pull out.
To where?
Philly.
I can't.
You can't
do
go
that.
to Buffalo.
I can't do that.
Why? You already went to Washington. You already went to the Giants.
Washington. I just
you
listen,
might as well-
respect to Sammy.
Aren't you a
He's
Smitty
been
guy?
mid. I do love
I can
Smitty.
put in the office. And listen, Drew here is a. You know what I'm saying?
All right, bro. That's good to know. I'll keep that in mind.
But Bill Mafia, you can't.
No. I wouldn't accept it personally.
Okay. Come to Philly.
All right. Brees Hall, play of the week. That is my favorite play by far.
I'm going Brees Hall pretty easily. 61.5 rushing yards. I think he gets that finally off that snap count. I'm gonna go with, I don't know who.
What's the Denver lines?
The Denver lines. Russell Wilson's at 227.5, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Judy is at 49.5 receiving yards.
That's
Sutton's
it?
at 46.5 receiving yards.
I'll probably go under on Sutton.
DJ Reed not playing.
He is not playing. I'm going to go over Brees Hall, 61.5 rushing yards. I'm going under on Sutton, 46.5 receiving yards. And you know what? Zach Wilson. I just need 207.5. If the rushing game's going, we get the passing game going. But you know what? This is a big blowout game from Garrett Wilson. I'm not going to go with Zach. I'm going to go with Garrett. 60.5 receiving yards. I'm going over on that.
You know what? And I don't hate that because teams have been doing their best to scheme up getting their best receiver away from Surtain. It worked with DJ Moore. He had himself a great ball game. And, of course, Tyreek Hill. That didn't matter. Even when he lined up on PSU, he had a good game. I don't mind that line at all.
I'm going Brees Hall over in the rushing yards, and I'm going to go Sutton under. He's not good either.
He has multiple touchdowns this year.
That's
Scott.
good to know. Your team has multiple.
Our offense is good. Stop.
Your offense is okay.
It's like a top 11, top 12 unit.
You have, what, one win?
One.
One flat?
One.
You guys don't.
To be honest with you, bro, we should be 3-1.
Yeah, should be.
You shouldn't have won that Bears game.
We shouldn't have won the Bears game, but we did.
So
We should have beat the Commanders. We should have beat the Raiders. We should be 3-1. We're fucking ass.
So 2-2.
3-1.
You should have lost the Bears game.
But I guess, but we came back from 21 down.
If you want to play that we should have won, I could play that you should have lost. So you should be 2-2. That's valid. We can meet at the middle.
I like that.
All right. See you.
2-2. That's a solid team.
Right now, that'd be tied. No.
Tied for like 8. A lot of teams are 2-2 right
Chiefs are 3-1.
Yes.
Yes. Browns are 2-2. Chargers, I think.
They're 2-2.
2-2. A lot of 2-2 teams.
Raiders are 1-3.
Raiders suck. You're one win.
And that's going to do it for episode 316 of the Pick a Side podcast. Eastern Conference predictions. Next week we'll do the West. And we'll be back on Sunday on YouTube after
Didn't even know
Sunday.
picture.
Yeah, I've been looking at it all show.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football, 49ers Cowboys will be live after the game.
I'm there tonight. I'm there that Sunday.
Yeah, you have to be.
Unless Purdy stinks it up. I won't be.
So if he thinks that you're not showing up.
No, I'll still show up because, we got to take our L's like a man in here. So if Purdy plays like shit, I'll show up. But if he doesn't,
It's live. It's up and it's stuck.
That's Sunday night, too. I love that.
No, they did an excellent job.
Finally.
Correct.
You can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.